All right, what did you think of SmackDown? SmackDown's first show on USA. Roman and Cody seems like they're going to be on the same side. We'll see how that goes. What did you think about Nia Jax, Bailey? What did you think about Carmelo Hayes, Andrade? What about Raw? We actually have one guy here on my panel who was actually there, and he figuratively and literally had a front row seat, and he'll talk about that. Plus, we'll talk about a number of different things. As AEW finally have a TV deal, and they might be getting one deal also on top of that. Well, we'll talk about that with three of my guys here. His name is TBK. He was the host of the Be More Talkative podcast. I have Randy Dillon, senior analyst here on Sportswire Radio for all things related to wrestling, dabbled in it for a brief period of time. Also is the host of the Hockey Fan Chat, which we heard on sportswireradio.org right before we went on the air. And the man that, well, it seems like he's trying to bounce back after his Instagram post. He's always trying to stay trendy. He is definitely a trendsetter. His name is Mr. 999, not 666. That is Alan Michaels. Fellas, happy Friday, and how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
I'm doing great. On the road to 1,000 subscribers. Actually picked up a couple the last 2 days. Surprisingly, after I lost 2 subscribers, I picked up 3. So it means I'm a net gain of 1. So I'm 95 away from Alan Michaels taking over Sportswire Radio. But until then, we'll move away from that. The road is already there. But SmackDown's debut on USA, an eventful one. And what did you guys think about tonight's show? Let's start off that nice and easy.
I thought SmackDown was great, except for one thing. And TBK has mentioned this a lot. Where's Jimmy? I don't think it should have been Cody teaming up with Roman. I think this would have been the perfect opportunity to bring Jimmy back. I know why they're doing it for Bad Blood, because it's Cody's hometown. The arena's excited to see him, so you have to give him a match. And rather than giving another match with Solos, I understand it, but I just thought it was a golden opportunity for Jimmy Uso to return. Other than that, I thought it was a really good show.
What about the rest of you guys? What do you guys think?
I think it was a good show. Great show, even. Probably the best SmackDown we've had in a minute. The only thing that I'm kind of sick and tired of is I'm sick and tired of these mystery opponents just being the same guys on the roster. Like, quit baiting us. Quit getting our hopes up. Because, I was scrolling through my TikTok feed and I saw somebody post the clip of the Kevin Owens mystery opponent. And I was like, oh, my God, it's Ricky. So I immediately think it's Ricky Starks. Immediately off the rip.
It wasn't Ricky Starks, though. It was maybe
disappointed.
Was that one of the guys you guys were trying to train in Lafayette to go out and wrestle you, and they just didn't really have the skills, so we sent them to SmackDown instead?
No, I don't know who that guy was.
Well, hopefully you saw your video on TikTok that I posted about you talking about the WWE wrestling have a lot less dates than they normally do. But, okay, that I agree with you on. All right, so maybe we'll come back to some of that. What did you think, TBK?
So, I mean, I don't know what these guys saw, but I'm still not impressed. I'm starting to think that whenever Triple H says that there's going to be surprises, no, there isn't. There was not one single surprise tonight. Randy Orton being KO's partner was not a surprise at all. Everybody saw that coming a mile away. Kudos to Ricky, though. I'm sure he earned his money in a burrito backstage. Randy took my thunder, man. Let's put a freaking APB out on Jimmy Uso. Where the hell is Jimmy? Why the hell did they not bring him back tonight? This was, as Randy said, this was the perfect opportunity. Unless we get the swerve later on down the road, I know that Cody signed the contract already, but maybe he gets, I don't know, maybe he gets injured and Jimmy has to fill in, which would be so much better. As I've said before, I do not understand why they are keeping Cody in bloodline business. As Roman said, this is family business.
Well, I guess we'll have to find out. I mean, ultimately, we're going to see some bad blood, and we'll see if the bad blood will unfold with those two guys. But did you like Cody and Solo opening up the show? First match on USA, you get a match in a cage. What'd you guys make of that?
That I did. That I mean, if you want to make a statement, having a steel cage, first match right off the rip, to, welcome SmackDown back to USA. Sure. Fantastic. Good way to go. Other than that, like I said, a little bit too predictable for my taste, but it did make Cody look strong, which we've been needing that for a while, so I'm okay with it.
I'm with
Okay.
TBK. I thought the match was good. I think they did it right. I'm glad Cody got the win without any bloodline interference till after. We didn't see it was a good one-on-one match. It really won. I think it was I thought it was a really good match from Solo as well. It definitely shows how far he's gone, especially the last few matches after SummerSlam. But I thought it was done right. Cody get that strong win, and after I think we kind of expected, and we'll see what happens here. The only thing I can say is there is a tease that there is some tension between Cody and Roman because Cody said this isn't your show anymore. It hasn't been your show since WrestleMania.
And they didn't shake hands. He gave him the contract in the pen, but he didn't shake his hand. If you were waiting for the hand to be laid out, he just gave him the contract. There was no real. They're for now wrestling, but who knows what happens in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at Crown Jewel if we get the rematch between Cody and Roman.
That soon?
My guess would be Rumble, but if Cody's going to be part of War Games, they have to have this match beforehand.
And do you want that? I mean, do you think this would just go right to WrestleMania? That's the trilogy, the rubber match. Wouldn't you telling me we're going to have it before then?
I think so because The Rock is going to play a role, whether it's him going against Roman or it's going to be him versus Cody, or are we going to see a triple threat match? That's a wild card, and I still don't have an idea to find out which way they're going with him come Mania, because he's going to be in the main event of Mania. It just matters, is it going to be a one-on-one match or a triple threat?
Would you want The Rock in a triple threat match, or you want him in a one-on-one for everybody here? What do you want? Do you want him in? You want to see him one-on-one against somebody? You want to see him in a triple threat?
As much as I would love to see Rock in a 1v1 setting, I just, with his age and his prior injuries, I think a triple threat match would be the way to go, so Rock wouldn't have to be the focal point of every single spot in the match.
I'm with Alan. I think they should be doing Rock versus Roman with how everything's being built, but Alan Michaels makes a valid point. I don't think Rock can do a one-on-one match. We saw him in the tag team match at last year's the past WrestleMania. He was out of some spots for a long time, so can he go a full distance?
Yeah, I mean, Rock and Cody, nobody wants to see then, right? Nobody here wants to see a Rock and Cody match?
I would like to see Rock and Cody, but I just don't think he can do it. That's the thing. I think you would go
for the same for everybody else here at TBK and Alan. No, you're not into it.
No, I you know what? I thought Rock looked good at Mania. I don't think he looked gassed at all, which was a big concern for everybody. They thought, the ring rust might have been very apparent. I thought he looked okay. I thought he looked good. He carried himself well. He got through the match. But I'll tell you what, there's something else interesting that's been brewing that I think would be an absolute fire match if they ever pulled it off, which would be Roman versus Jacob. I think that would be a damn barn burner. Like those two, and like I said, Jacob has been so impressive. He's super clean. He's intimidating. He's everything that Solo is supposed to be.
But we can thank recent Sportzwire Radio guest Tarzan Duran for that, because obviously Tarzan Duran wrestled Jacob Fatu months ago. No, not really. I mean, really, Tarzan Duran had nothing to do with that at all. I mean, I'm surprised, considering Tarzan, that they had a match in San Francisco. But okay, I'll get to some of the chat. See, the chat's starting to heat up a little bit. But let me ask you guys one more question on Cody. You guys were okay overall with the title match opening up the show? It's, first ever show, SmackDown on USA, and you okay with that, or should always be the championship match goes last? You guys were okay with that? Kind of a curveball there they threw a little bit.
I think it really depends. Like, definitely, I always think the championship match should be the main event for the show. But if you want to get the attention of the fans, you're going half-hour commercial free. You got to pull it all the stops, and I think if Cody and Solo didn't deliver, there would have been a lot. They should have went last. But because they deliver so well, I don't have a problem.
Okay, all right, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, obviously, I want to come back to some things on SmackDown and get your perspective because you were there in Calgary on Raw and Brett's first appearance on in WWE TV. I mean, has to have been years, right? The last time Brett was on TV, right? Has to have been before COVID, right? Did Brett make an appearance after COVID? I feel like it's been since first before COVID would be his first appearance.
His last big appearance was in AEW, the first AEW
That was
Double or
2019,
Nothing,
right? That's what I
2019.
thought.
But WWE, I think before that it was 2015 where he introduced. 2016 when he wasn't in Calgary, he came out with Natalia because he was doing a feud with Charlotte Flair. But
Yeah, that's what I thought. That we're talking. This is his first appearance on, certainly on Raw. Has to be in over a decade. So that was a big thing in itself. We'll get to that. Let me get to some of the chat here because I got a bunch of comments. Yes, but Chaotic's not here, and that's only poking at Alan Michaels, who's certainly not happy at all. You can see Alan Michaels' face with daggers. Alan, did you see that Zilla actually revealed who she was on Instagram on Saturday? Did you hear about that, Alan?
I did not.
You didn't. You missed it. Everyone on the stream, but you weren't. But Zilla actually revealed herself. There was an Instagram. It was Jack Delta. It was Big Man Cam was on it. A bunch of other different people. Aaron Blaze was on it. A whole list. Joshua Allen popped in on it. Different people at different times. And Zilla actually revealed that she is a person. She's not a bot, and she's a big wrestling fan, and she knows her stuff. And but obviously you're not a big fan. I could certainly understand why, because she says chaotic. I still don't know why, but he's not here. Yes, thank you, Zilla. And but Shane Davidson's also not here. I don't know why she's saying. Yeah, Alan, do you know anything about this? Why would she be saying hello to Shane Davidson? He's not here.
I have no idea.
Bizarre. Yes, Ethan, good to see you, my man. But speaking of Shane Davidson, now are you still the godfather to Mr. Davidson's son, or that's now off the table?
No, I still am. It's,
Oh, you still are.
Jealousy. It's a nasty drug.
It is true. It's a strong drug. But he also says sometimes someone's a little bitter after Summer Bash. Don't worry, Alan Michaels. You can try again next year.
I'll try again whenever I perfectly well damn feel like it.
That's very much.
we're gonna start the trend. We want Allen. We want Allen.
A man that can make that happen is Joshua Allen, a man who's, as usual, was fighting trampoliners on Monday's show. He was fighting with Atomic Titan, a man you defeated not too long ago. Alan, he does say good evening. He's got a wrestling comment, which I'm going to get to in a second. Let me get to some of the chat here. I thought SmackDown was really good, and for the fact that Cody Rhodes is teaming with Roman Reigns was definitely unexpected, considering Roman was a heel for so long. What do you guys make of that?
I think it was unexpected. I think people didn't want it as unexpected. It was unexpected because I think people wanted a TBK. Say, where's Jimmy? We wanted to see Jimmy over Cody, so that's why I think it was a little unexpected there, Ethan.
And Roman's not really a heel at the moment. He just only came back very recently. He's only had very limited appearances, so I mean, he's not really a heel right now.
Let's just go ahead and do it. 2-man power trip part 2. Put titles on it. Go ahead.
Yeah,
It might be better than the first one because I think these.
Well, I thought though with the women's situation with the tag team championships, that was going to be a 2-women trip. If you were talking about what we saw in that little confrontation between Tiffany Stratton, Nia Jackson, Jade Cargill, and Bianca Belair, I got the impression that was where you're going to have a 2-women power trip with Nia Jax maybe holding 2 belts soon. I'll get to that before anything else. But actually, Zilla apologizes to you, Alan. She apologized. So very nice of her. Very big of her. Want to say hello to my buddy, Mr. Abraham Horn, who's coming on Sportswire very soon, all the way from Charlotte, North Carolina. He's going to be here in less than 3 weeks. He says hello, and I'm looking forward to having him here. SmackDown was boring, according to Zilla. That's Zilla's opinion. Tom and the gang, do you guys think that The Rock could make a return for the WWE Bad Blood pay-per-view, or do you guys think it'll be later? Then I think, Randy, you answered later than that.
If The Rock's going to make a return, it's going to be a Survivor Series. That is my guess.
Okay. Anybody else want to say something else?
I think it's either Survivor Series or after Rumble. I mean, he usually comes in on that road to WrestleMania build.
Well, Survivor Series starts the official road to Mania, though, right? Because it's Survivor Series, Rumble.
But for sure. But I think the Rumble's just a bigger place for him to come back at. Even though Survivor Series would be the place for him to come back. I can see him pushing it back to the Rumble, honestly.
Okay. All right. Ron Franklin's here. We all know Ron Franklin, and he's here, and he says, hello. Would you like to say something else, Ron? We'll give you an opportunity. Cody Rhodes against Solo Sikoa should have been the main event. Disagree? Agree? What do you think?
I agree.
I think it set the tone for the night. Like I do agree with Zilla does have a point, but I think it's the timing as well. If you're gonna go half an hour commercial free at the beginning, you have to go all out. You have to give the audience that big reason to watch and stay interested, especially for a full half hour when there are no commercials.
Would you guys like the no commercial aspect tonight?
Yeah,
for sure.
And I heard on Netflix will have commercials. Are you guys surprised about that or what?
I'm not surprised at all. I was on Netflix last night trying to watch White Chicks, and apparently they have some movies blocked off.
You mean you weren't watching football yesterday? You're the football guy. You weren't watching.
I have it on my phone and I'm watching something else and playing the game. I'm a multi-versatile person.
You're a trendsetter. That's why.
We call that ADHD.
Hey.
I worked for a political candidate once that literally had that, and I don't want to say his name because he's been on my platform years ago, and he's been a really big supporter of mine. And you talk to him, and you 5 minutes, he's already changing the subject. And, you're like, all right, that's the definition of ADHD. But okay, Alan, that's your story. But let me get to some more comments because I do have a lot of them here. I'm trying to figure out where do I go from here. There we go. The Rock 1-on-1 or tag team. I guess, are you referring to maybe The Rock wrestling Roman Reigns or wrestling in a tag match against Cody Rhodes? What would you be referring to, Zilla? We'll come back to that. I actually got a good one from Joshua Allen. I'm wondering what you guys all thought about that because RVD and Vicky Guerrero made cameos on WWE TV for the first time in a long time. And I think the RVD one's most notable because he wrestled in AEW not too long ago. What did you guys all make of those cameos?
I think they're just pulling out all the stops to get everyone to tune into the first episode of on the new network. Honestly, RVD he was never cleared by WWE medical or whoever it is, so I don't think he'll ever make an in-ring return. I could see Vicky Guerrero possibly making a return at some point to manage Dom. I think that would be a really cool little thing there.
Alan, you thought my reaction. You're absolutely right. Vicky and Dom together would just be something.
That would be cool.
Special.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. To Rhea live to Vicky. I mean, maybe that would have worked for Dolph Ziggler and Edge once upon a time. But okay, clever. But RVD, we don't think we'll see him have another match in WWE, or no?
Never say never. But I mean, I think if that was WWE's version of multiple surprises, was the cameos, could have done better. Great to see him.
Well, the RVD one I think is notable because he did have a brief run in AEW, so that's kind of maybe I'm sure a shot at the bow at AEW. I don't know the significance of Seattle, but again, RVD's still a name that still carries some weight. And he's recently been on AEW TV. So I think it's more about that than anything else. But let me get to some comments. I got actually a little bit of them here so far. Honestly, Tom, The Rock in a triple threat match would be interesting to see, considering The Rock told Cody before he left that their feud being started. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean, I think The Rock, like I said, The Rock is still up in the air right now. After a while, either you pull the trigger on Rock and Roman because it's been teased for so long, which it would really be a shame to watch that fizzle out or just die. The fans have wanted that for so long, but like I said, at this point, now you're getting into the territory where it could absolutely start losing its luster, which is not good. So when you bring The Rock back, obviously, it's going to be big because it's The Rock, but still make sure it's impactful. That's what's most important to me.
Well, let me ask you guys a general question. Two of you have had some forms of wrestling experience. Alan is the one that's wrestling more current and an active basis. But let's say whenever The Rock does decide to come back, we'll go with that. Let's just say he does. How many matches realistically does The Rock have in him? How many matches are we looking at?
How many matches?
Sorry,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
If he comes back at even a part time, I mean, we're maybe seeing 4, 5 max. Like, that's the absolute max we're seeing out of him. In all honesty, I think he has that moment at WrestleMania, this upcoming WrestleMania, and I think that's it. I think he's gonna have one more big blowout, and that's it.
Okay, that's fair. What about you, Randy? What do you think?
I'm with Alan. Like, I would say even less. I'm looking at maybe 3 or 4 matches for The Rock because one, his age is Tom. We talked about this a lot. His age being
52 now, right?
52. His last match, what, 12 years singles match 12 years ago. He pulled.
Plus John Cena. Yep.
Yep, he pulled his injury and had out, and he's still committed. And I think people forget he's still, even though he's part of the board of director TKO, he wants to be involved. He's still committed to Hollywood, and I think unless he can really take a backseat to him, and he's not that involved in Hollywood, you're not going to be getting that many matches because, again, a wrestler's worst enemy is time away from the ring.
And he also didn't wrestle much. You're talking not talking about these, matches that were gimmicky. You're really talking about you could look good in the ring, ring-wise shape, but he has not had much ring time. And even before that, when he had those 2 matches with Cena, you're talking about very little ring time before that. So realistically, he hasn't been a full-time competitor in 2 decades. You're talking 2 decades. And realistically, what can you expect from somebody like that? So that's a very good point. Want to say hello to my friend, Mr. Mickey Vargas. Mickey Vargas, of course, in House of Misfits Entertainment. He was a huge part of the Riot in the Ring. He was also a part of House of Misfits Entertainment's huge past show that just came up, Yardcade, and he was very successful, winning some championship gold. Want to say hello to Mickey Vargas. Mickey's also going to be here coming up very soon for Shock's party. Shock, of course, we love Shocky. Shocky's going to be here, and you got a lot of matches to talk about there with that. D'Angelo the Flame's going to be there. We got also D'Angelo the Flame, and he's going to be a part of that. We got Jake Dvorak and Shock Wrestling, so really excited about Mickey Vargas and the guys, and they'll be here before October 12th, and a slew of other people stay tuned for. So want to say hello to Mr. Vargas, a fellow New Yorker, but from the other side of the state, so we'll appreciate him tuning in. And yes, the only thing I will watch on SmackDown is the Bloodline. Well, thank you. We'll get to more comments and see what you think. Levi McDaniel's in the house, of course, the legendary Levi McDaniel, LMFP Promotions, general manager in the IMF, and Levi was on live on YouTube earlier today, but pops in to say hello, and we say hello to him as well. And she will support the Bloodline more than Cody Rhodes. Yes, we want to make that clear, that Zilla supports the Bloodline more than Cody Rhodes, just like she supports Chaotic more than Alan Michaels. Actually, no, that's not true. But okay, Alan's getting upset. I'll move on. Tom and the gang, do you think that if The Rock didn't join the Bloodline, that we could have gotten Randy Orton versus The Rock one-on-one, or was The Rock joining the Bloodline the perfect choice? All right, what do you think of that?
Sorry, Tom, I jumped the gun. Perfect choice, Layton. I would, for the longest time, wanted to see Randy Orton versus The Rock because the history, 2 third-generation stars, what they've accomplished and all that, but there's no really build with Rock and Randy other than
the storyline. What's the storyline?
Exactly. Other than that 3rd-generation story, there's nothing more. Rock and the Bloodline has more because, as we saw last year, that goddamn long family tree where...
Well, if I'm going to go based on what you said, Randy, right? The Rock's got 4 matches in him, right? So it's almost like 4. He's got 4 targets, right? To quote Chris Jones, Saturday's guest, the XCW legend, he had 4 targets, and he wound up going to have 5, well, technically 6 matches. So if The Rock's got 4 targets, are you going to waste a bullet on Randy Orton when there's no history? Obviously, you got Cody, you got Roman. Maybe you get a tag match in there. Do you revisit John Cena one more time? I mean, that's what you got left, right? Yeah, somebody left. So maybe that's the way you go instead of to Randy Orton, because obviously Cena and The Rock have far more history, far more chemistry. You're thinking about movies, by the way. They've been in a couple of movies, Fast and the Furious together, and they got a couple of WrestleMania. So if we know Steen is out the door next year, John Cena, then maybe one of those targets would have to be The Rock and John Cena.
Yeah, it could be a tag team, some type of tag team match. with like Rock and someone versus Cena and someone, definitely that opportunity could come along. I don't see Cena or The Rock doing a one-on-one match at this point, neither.
Okay.
Thrice in a lifetime. Come on.
That was like a lifetime ago, Alan.
But you know what? I mean, look, everybody fantasizes about Cena and Orton one more time. And, Cena and The Rock had 2 main events together in WrestleMania history. So that's, one way to look at it. But again, if you're only going on your logic, Randy, those 4 targets, I mean, it's going to give you what? Roman, maybe Cody, if that, a tag match and something else. So we'll have to find out. Let me get to some more comments here. But Shane Davidson's definitely trying to poke at you, Alan Michaels. Hey, you don't want the smoke, Alan Michaels. You remember All Hallows Eve last year, don't you? Yes, we did speak about that last year on the show, but Alan, I'm not going to talk about it because I could see I don't want to have last year's show.
We talk about it for a quick second. I'm a completely different
person
from last year. I've beaten the likes of Chaotic, your brother.
Jay Wild. How about Jay Wild? Pinfall victory over him. Atomic Titan, pinfall victory over him. Joe Anderson, pinfall victory over him. Big wins.
Big wins. So I'm not the same person I was a year ago.
Well, that's 4 big wins you didn't have last year.
It is.
Staying trendy. SmackDown was good. Just waiting for football talk. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing football-wise. I'll definitely do baseball. I probably have Rob and Chris. Well, we'll see. I want to do wrestling for a little while, though, for sure. Let's see where I end up. You're just another little pebble in the road. Wink, wink. See what I did there?
I don't see what you did. That made no fucking sense.
I think you meant to say you're another
pebble in the road. But... Well, that's obviously why he's Armageddon, Shane Davidson. We appreciate that. It's almost like did you see Xavier Thorne doing playground wrestling, Alan? Did you see? That's kind of the same thing. He's doing wrestling.
No
yeah, okay, I'll move on. Okay, we'll go there. I love the prophecy. Boy, Zilla can't make a mind up. I got a lot. I got a lot of comments.
Understood.
Tom and the gang, I could definitely see RVD coming back to the WWE, not now, but down the road. I mean, he's had a history with Randy Orton, and maybe he could have a match with LA Knight. But what is RVD at this point? 50-something, 55, maybe 56.
Gotta be. Yeah.
That old with concussion history.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I think somebody said he wouldn't be cleared with concussion protocols, and he didn't look that great picture-wise. I'm sure if he took the glasses off, it would have been probably not so good. So, yeah, I don't know. RVD coming back in WWE. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence, but
the only time at one point in time that I would have liked to have seen RVD is maybe, and this is a shot in the dark, for maybe a one-off or a possible very, very short run with Matt Riddle, just because of reasons.
Yeah, yeah, that's here nor there. But let's go to more comments. I don't like how they're doing SmackDown, so that's why I love Backyard Wrestling. Yes, and we appreciate that, and we definitely love Backyard Wrestling. And tomorrow I'll have more coverage of that with Sean Jovi here, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and he'll have his response toward those trampoline wrestlers in Kewanee, Illinois, from small town Backyard Wrestling. And we cover Backyard Wrestling more than WWE, AEW, and ROW, but we do have that wrestling talk tonight. So we'll try to work in what we can. The Rock in singles action and the Rock in tag matches. Well, if he's got 4 bullets, 4 targets, that's what we're going to go with. Let me get to some more comments. I'm not the monster everyone thinks I am, but I can be the monster you want me to be. And Alan Michaels will show no mercy. Well, let's move on to more comments because I don't want to get Alan further riled up here. Tom, as for Vicky Guerrero, I think that she could help maybe Damian Priest, considering Dominic is disrespecting Eddie Guerrero by using his frog splash. I don't see Vicky Guerrero helping Damian Priest anytime soon. I guess maybe you could make a case for Vicky Guerrero in a one-off segment with Dominic Mysterio, but I'm still not convinced that I'll see Vicky Guerrero full-time in the WWE managerial role of some sort. I guess Theodore Long came back years ago, and he had a run as SmackDown general manager, but I'm just not convinced I'm going to see Vicky Guerrero again in a full-time role. I don't know.
I hope so. She got so much heat.
She would be perfect with Dom, like the excuse me and Dom trying to think like it would be like a booth for like the whole. You couldn't hear anything.
I was gonna say at that point the heat between Vicky and Dom they would need megaphones, not microphones. Like
Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to hear a thing, dude.
All right. Well, I mean, look, I just look at it and saying, how long has it been since he's been on WWE TV? I mean, I guess never say never, but I mean, right now, I think the storyline is with Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, but we'll see. I got a couple more comments, and I'll clear one. Yes, okay, thank you. She supports Chaotic, but Alan Michaels is here. I mean, Alan is here. Come on, Zilla. Alan's here. Chaotic
We
and
love
Davidson
Alan.
are here.
He's the guy.
All right, so I got this. I got the picture. I got obviously a little bit more time to talk with you guys. So I got to ask you, Randy. Bret Hart, Calgary. What was that like seeing Bret again? We spoke about it a little bit earlier in the show, but what was that experience like seeing him one more time in Calgary, and then to see the announcement of Vancouver has Survivor Series November 3rd?
So to talk about Bret Hart, because I know a lot. When we see Bret Hart in Calgary, it's a treat because people gotta remember with the screw job, the Owen incident, Bret didn't come to any WWE events in Calgary up till 2010 when he first appeared on WWE, when he first returned in WWE. So it was great seeing the ovation was loud. He like when Gunther came out, you couldn't hear him because he was getting booed so loud because the fans just appreciate Bret. Now you can definitely tell Bret is getting older up there, like he's a little bit slower and stuff, but just what Bret, the Hart family means to the city of Calgary, Stampede Wrestling, what they've done for Western Calgary and the wrestling in the western side of Canada, it's just always a pleasure.
Now, I have to ask one thing. I'll get everybody's impressions on this. When Gunther opens up his mouth and he talks about the one person that Bret Hart had hated, who are we all thinking of? And instead, we get Goldberg. But shouldn't the obvious name should have been Shawn Michaels? I mean, and what did you guys' impressions of that? I mean, Randy, what was the crowd thinking there?
I was a shock. I for sure thought we were going to hear Shawn Michaels, but I think Bret and Shawn, they've let bygones be bygones and think, listen, we'll be civil. Bret and Goldberg still hate each other. Like,
if anybody saw the Vice documentary, I mean, Bret. I mean, if he could put a bullet through Goldberg's chest and do anything he could to him, he would. I mean, he's just that. He's still angry, still over that. I mean, he's really still upset about that. I'm sure there'll be a meme somewhere on X. There's this bitter Bret account on X, and I'm sure it's probably got a bunch of those tweets I'm missing.
No, exactly. Yeah. Like it was, I was a little shocked. I was like, but it made sense because they just even Gold Bret and like I said, Bret and Shawn, they've been civil. Like they don't go out of it much. Before.
Well, the A&E documentary showed that there was I'm sure they're not going to be having Christmas dinner with each other, but at least there was a polite, I guess, toward we'll move on and such. I mean, although I did see it, I don't know if anybody saw it on Instagram. There was a Triple H and Bret Hart handshake backstage, and Bret kind of looked a little awkward at him. He looked awkward at him, and then I was kind of looking at the facial expressions of that, and it was like, that's awkward, but I guess it is what it is. But Bret obviously got a big response. Raw, anything else you guys want to say on Raw? Otherwise, you liked Raw. What did you think about the experience for you, Randy?
It was an amazing show, and definitely the Wyatt 6 versus America Made was
loud. That was the opening match, right?
It was incredible, especially when when WWE does no commercial at a live show, it's very hard to go around the washroom during the first hour and go buy merch because you're missing so much stuff. So that's why we need commercials so people in the crowd can go to the washroom and not miss stuff. But everything the show was great, from the Wyatt 6, from the Judgment Day. Dom is honestly hated. Like the boos this guy get, it's like it feels like you're literally he's like Lex Luthor trying to take over the world. Like how much hate he's getting. So there's that. Drew McIntyre's segment was really good. Nice to see Natalya get return. Braun Strowman, you watch that guy, man. Absolutely, he's a big SOB, and we got that crowd start.
And Natalya gets a win right on TV for the first time in ages. I mean,
exactly. Overall, the Raw experience being there live, it was just amazing. We had about 9,000 fans in the building. It was pretty packed.
Oh wow! Okay, all right. Anybody else have any general impressions on Raw? Anything else that you wanted to discuss? I'll come back to SmackDown if anybody wants. I'm happy to talk about Nia Jax, that whole segment there. Thought that was interesting. Carmelo and Andrade wrestled again. I think somebody mentioned, I think Alan mentioned Ricky, and we got Randy Orton instead of Kevin Owens. Alan was about as upset about that as Zilla's comments toward Chaotic and the Prophecy. But all right, so maybe I'll go back to SmackDown then. I mean, would you want to see Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton win some tag titles? Because I kind of got that sense that maybe I'm going to see that down the road. What did you guys make of that?
I mean, right now the women's tag team titles just getting thrown around. I mean, it's like they don't even mean anything at this point.
Do they mean something? Do they?
Not
Have they?
really.
When have those titles meant something? When have they meant something?
When they were in NXT, that's when they meant something.
NXT,
How long ago was that?
I mean, I'm sure it meant something when the bill came in, to make the titles. But other than that, yeah, no.
I feel like they meant something with that group, with the.
Was it Bailey, Io Sky?
Yeah, Bailey and Io.
Yeah,
they kind of felt important then.
Right,
when the belts first got taken off of them, it felt important, but honestly, it just.
But WWE really with tag team wrestling in a lot of ways they're up and down with it. Yeah, they drop the ball. They're up and down with it. I mean, but I mean, you could see maybe that's the way you start the tease of a Jade and Bianca kind of split, right? Getting the titles off them, and what way to do that with Tiffany and Nia and enhance that storyline, don't you think?
I'm gonna just be kind of real. I'm kind of over that whole Jade and Bianca thing at this point. They've let it ride and marinate for way too damn long. The payoff needs to happen soon, or I'm just going to completely lose interest in it, honestly.
Just like you're going to get your payoff soon with Shane, right? You're going to get your payoff with him soon?
100%.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let me get to a few comments here. I got a bunch of them. I want to get to everybody here. We'll have the regular guys here. I think Chris and Rob will be here in about 15 minutes, so we'll get to a couple things here real quick. Tom, it was good seeing Bret Hart return to the WWE, considering he was one of the OGs, especially when he first started in WWE. Yes, definitely one of those guys. I think all time he's still like number 3 or 4 in most matches in WWE history wrestled. He's still right up there. And I think Natalya is right up there too as well, the ironic part of that.
I think she had the most matches by a female in the WWE.
And I think she's even in company history. She's got to be in the top 10, right? She's been in WWE for like 15 plus years now, by now at least. I mean, so she's had probably a longer tenure in WWE than Bret did. But yeah, but in those days, Bret was probably wrestling 350 matches a year. I mean, now they probably wrestle, about 80, 90 a year, so yeah. But Bret's still right up there in matches, especially he was an Iron Man, really, from, I would say, about a period of 85 maybe to about WrestleMania 12. He was a true Iron Man. He really had only one injury in his WWF career. He had a knee injury, but that was it. And then, then his career went south, literally. Went to WCW south, and he went south. Bret and Goldberg is like Cornette and Russo. Yeah, I think it might be worse, though, because I think Bret really, if he could, he would kill Goldberg. I think he really would. Well, he's talked about in numerous interviews that he feels like he would have had like 10 more years in wrestling, at least. I mean, he's talked about that over and over. But, yes, we agree that was a good segment, good opener, very solid. Liked seeing that. That was good. Agree with you on that. SmackDown stinks right now. I'm so happy Monday Night Raw is becoming the top show again. I've always liked Raw. And we'll always like Shane Davidson now and making his long-awaited return to Rampage. I would imagine 169 coming up very soon. But I'm sure you're going to be there for that, right? You're going to be there?
Oh, I'll definitely be there.
You're going to be there. It's very kind of you. Let me get to some more comments. Honestly, Tom, the Wyatt 6, I think he said 6. They're not sick. We hope they wouldn't be sick. Was absolutely perfect for the WWE, and I continue to respect and remember Bray Wyatt. Yes, we definitely respect and continue to remember him.
It's a great faction. I think they've had a good storyline with the Chad Gable group.
The Alphas, yep.
But I also, where do you go from here with them?
I was going to say the same thing. Yeah. We can't keep doing this forever. What's the next? Who's next?
I think next would be smart after the Judgment Day done with Damian and Rhea. Yep. The Wyatt 6 should be going after the Judgment Day.
Yeah, that's like the only really way to go, because you can't make them go up against one person because then they're heel. You immediately turn them heel if they go up against one person.
All right, that's clever. That's a clever one. Okay, that's a clever point. Want to say hello, Alan, to a mutual friend, Mr. Ace Reed, of all the way in the land down under of Australia. And we love Ace. And Ace is actually up at 12:54 p.m. Saturday time there. So I hope you're doing well, Ace. And Well, we're getting ready to end summer. Ace is getting ready, I think, to start summer. Well, it would be spring now. We're going into spring. So he's very happy about that. Let me come back to Joshua Allen first before I go to Zilla. Going back to Brett, nothing against Brett, good in the ring, but really thought Owen was great or better in that WrestleMania 10 match. Well, that's what some people do think, that Owen was more of a character, whereas Brett was monotone. He was a monotone type of guy. I mean, he was obviously had a certain thing, but it worked for him. I mean, not to say I don't like. Again, no one would say Brett's not very good, but Owen had maybe a little bit more character. He had a little bit more charisma, and he was more of a utility guy in that sense. You know, he worked at the end of his career, very short, obviously. He worked with Edge. He worked with Christian. And a little known fact, I'm sure Randy saw this on X. Kurt Angle, I think, worked one of his first matches with Owen Hart in WWF.
That is correct.
It was right before, I think it was about like 6 days or so before Owen Hart died or something like that. Some really crazy stats. So, yeah, Owen definitely had a lot there. Brett was more about in the ring. He was focused on winning championships, and he talked a lot about that. So they're different people. Let me get to another point here. Who do you think is going to leave SmackDown? Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Bayley, or Naomi?
I think Tiffany Stratton would be kind of the perfect one because it sets up, if her return to cash in the Money in the Bank, it had that angle kind of set up there. Like, Bayley, I think, needs to stay on SmackDown. Naomi, if they're not going to do anything for her on SmackDown, send her to Raw, but then you have to send someone Raw. So I think Tiffany Stratton kind of make the perfect.
But based on that, you don't think it's Naomi? Naomi seems to be, just off what you said, makes the most sense.
She does, because the only thing, they don't really have anything for Naomi. I think Raw, like you after Rhea, you have to think who's next to challenge Liv for the title, and Naomi might be the perfect person kind of throwing that spot.
Yeah, because you don't have anybody really else after Liv. Yes, Alan, you're laughing. Yes.
No, I'm laughing. I'm agreeing.
Okay.
There's no other challenger really on Raw. Like,
that's
honestly,
why I think Naomi makes sense to go. She would be the one that makes most sense. I don't know. I don't see it. I think Tiffany and Nia are going to continue for a while till Tiffany turns on Nia. It's pretty predictable, I would have to think. And Bayley's kind of where Bayley will probably expect to be, sort of around the edge of the title picture, and maybe she'll get it back at some point. Who knows? I mean, kind of. That's until, Charlotte Flair comes back and decides that she's going to be the one to break her father's record. So that could be a point there. And yes, we say hello there to Mr. Ace Reed. I got to bring up AEW for a few minutes. For actually a couple, it seems to be minor good news for them. First of all, ratings it was their biggest rating in ages. They hit 716,000. Then I hear apparently they're very close to a deal, finally, with Warner Brothers Discovery. And I hear Fox in AEW? What's going on there, Randy? I see you shaking.
I'm going to go on a rant here. Every single week, we've talked about this. AEW, they're close to a television deal.
Last week, they're on the 1 yard line for whatever that means.
Tony Khan said, we're going to have AEW staying on for a long time. Every week, these reports. At this point, you know what reminded me of this, Tom? When John Tavares was saying he was going to re-sign with the Islanders.
And he wasn't signing with the Islanders.
Exactly. Yep, yeah. It's getting to that final point where they got to announce something soon. Even if it's just a tentative deal and they're just working out details, you're almost 2.5 months away and you don't have a contract. And not only that, I don't watch Dynamite, but I follow what's going on. This week, Dynamite was really weird. You have Jon Moxley comes out and said he's going to challenge Daniel Bryan after what he did. Then you have Darby Allin said he wants the title shot. Then all of a sudden, we're going to see Nigel McGuinness, who returns. He's getting a title shot. Yep. They're wasting good stories and matches.
The Nigel McGuinness one was, I think, really out of left field. I mean, Nigel McGuinness.
Exactly. I honestly think they should have saved this for the pay-per-view and build, because everyone knows the history between Nigel McGuinness and Daniel Bryan.
Especially with the AEW audience. That AEW audience, they know it from front to back.
Exactly. So why are we waiting? Why are they getting the match right away? I don't understand it. It should be built. And then you have the stuff that happened on at all out. The bag over the head of Bryan Danielson. Some of the moves, Swerve getting stapled, no
Yep.
sell, him getting thrown a cinder block. I understand AEW wants to be edgy, but when you're doing stuff like that and not selling or doing weird things like that, you are going to a part of no return because then you're expecting to go that far or people don't want to
But
see
that's
that.
what they've been doing for months. Ricochet, I read something already. Oh, Ricochet is a miss already. Ricochet's in there and he's a miss. And, with this whole Moxley faction and who's the next member. And, I mean, to me, it's the same old, same old. But Fox and AEW, is that just Tony
It's
Khan?
not going to happen.
You
The
don't think
stuff
so?
AEW does on TV, they will not get away with on Fox.
What about
You saw,
Fox? But what about Fox Sports 1, though? Let's say Fox Sports on cable.
listen, they didn't let WWE get away with much, especially when The Rock came back. Do you think they're going to let AEW do kind of all this stuff
No, if
weekly?
they're paying less money for it, I mean, I'm sure that the money that Fox would pay for WWE versus AEW is getting, it's got to be almost like you're probably paying a tenth of that. So maybe they take a chance and maybe they gamble and put it on. Let's say right now, college football in America is on Saturdays till 11 o'clock. Maybe you give that as a lead-in, or you do college basketball as an example. So they're not going to be on now for Fox, but let's say early next year that starts, and Fox has college basketball. They have the package. They can put those AEW shows right after college basketball. They have a lead-in. I'm just throwing things out there. I mean, Major League Baseball in the summer, they have Saturday and Thursday nights. Maybe you throw it on after that, and you take a chance. You're spending less money than WWE. I don't know.
I don't know because I don't think they can adapt their product, and I think this has been the problem with AEW. They cannot adapt their product to change. We see what WWE does, and Triple H has taken over from a Mr. McMahon. They
Well,
have
even
really.
how about the Tonight Show? How about even some of the camera shots? The camera shots in that Cody Rhodes match look completely different, right?
AEW, they're doing the same thing they started off with 5 years ago, and I think it was a great new. It was kind of that great. Oh my God, we're getting something new. But now it's like, okay, where are we going? And even the whole Mariah May angle where she's now calling for her friend Mina Shirai to come back. It's like, okay, it's gonna be a great story, but why are we getting into this right away?
Yeah, Chris Belcher was talking about that, our old friend, on his show, which was on sportswireradio.org, and that was the same question he had. Let me get to a bunch of comments here. We're going to bring the rest of the guys on here in a few minutes. But
I apologize, guys, for going off.
No, this is good. No.
Like AEW, like I know there's those diehards out there, that internet audience, but it's just like.
But the diehards are a narrow pool. They're a narrow majority, and I think that's the big.
But it's
the big
just
thing.
like eventually you have to do something. Now, the only thing I can think with the TV deal with holding this off is Warner Brother want to confirm Shane McMahon is joining AEW. That's the only thing I think maybe they're waiting to think. Listen, if Shane joins, maybe they're saying, listen, this guy knows the wrestling industry. He might be someone that can help
them. The Fox deal.
That's the only thing I'm thinking of why these deals are kind of holding off. Their thing where we want Shane McMahon on board because we know
that would be a big deal. Just even for you'd want to tune in for that. You would, I don't know how long it would last, but that's a big deal. McMahon on a non-WWE programming. I mean, that's
I was going to say to have a McMahon team up with a Khan is a big deal. Okay, we'll just put that out there. It may not be Vince, but still.
Listen, it's a McMahon. It's a McMahon to be on that programming. It's a big shot in the bow.
AEW, that's really all they have is their diehards. I mean, they appeal to people who sacrifice storylines over just crazy violence to appease the wrestling marks. Like, I mean, at this point, something's got to give. And like I said, if you want to make a big statement, okay. Again, a Khan with a McMahon, that is a big deal. If they can get it done, cool.
Well, let me get to some comments. Let me get to a few more things. And Alan, I got to ask you something. I have one more question. Before we let Chris and Rob come on, I want to ask you something that's actually a big topic right now in the backyard wrestling circuit. But I'm going to save what's up my sleeve for that in a minute. Let me get to a bunch of comments. Honestly, Tom, if Tiffany Stratton was to leave SmackDown, she can go to Raw, maybe have a feud with either Liv Morgan or Rhea Ripley. Nah, I don't see it. The only reason she might be going to Raw is because, well, Ludwig Kaiser's on Raw. But
That's
maybe
the other thing why she could go to Raw as well. That's the other thing.
That's a big one. That's a big one. Obviously, saves on travel cost, I'm sure. But well, WWE is actually years ago used to purposely split up these couples, but now it's a different world, which is good. I mean, if they want to be on the road together, Nigel versus Bryan Danielson at AEW Grand Slam.
It's gonna be good, but this needs to be important. It's like when Randy Edge returned back in 2020. Imagine if they gave his first match at a random pay-per-view. Instead, they built it up for that first WrestleMania.
They had him wrestle Omos. That was the match. It's not you want to give a story and a history to it, and that's where AEW continues to lack. Let me get to some more comments. Tom and the gang.
And it's given on. This is like given on a platter. You couldn't ask for a better story to attract.
But they've had problems with this, and this is a continued issue. Tom and the gang, do you guys think that Bryan Danielson could return to the WWE after his AEW contract expires? Do you think he'll stay with AEW? I think he's staying in AEW. I don't think he's going anywhere but AEW. I don't see him coming back.
He's absolutely said that he doesn't want the Hall of Fame. He has been pretty adamant that his time in WWE is up. So, and at this point, he's always been a bit of a crybaby. He's always been a bit wishy-washy. He could stay where the hell he's at. Fuck him.
Who do you think is going to be the final member in Jon Moxley's faction?
Shane McMahon.
Yeah, it should be Shane, but who knows?
We'll stay tuned.
I'm just kidding.
We'll have Rob Morosky here in a minute. Before I do that, let me go with this. AEW in the beginning was something, but now it's just went into the toilet. They had stars like Jericho and Punk, and until the Perry issue, and now Jericho is looking like an ass, and too many heel and face changes. Yeah, AEW, it's just never. I don't know. I mean, they had a minor boost this ratings next week, and then they'll have another boost, but they seem to be permanently in this 600,000, 700,000 viewership range. And to a point that Randy does make, I mean, Fox just had SmackDown, which had generated probably double that, maybe to triple that, based on just also advertising revenue. And to go from that to AEW, which is going to probably generate less than even what you're seeing they're generating on their usual Wednesday night slot, yeah, you might want to certainly be concerned a little bit about that. But, okay, I know we're going to get to final thoughts from you guys in a minute because I have Rob Morosky here who's definitely here to cheer about the new Mets. But, Alan, I got to ask you one question. I know that it's not a WWE, AEW question, but I have to ask this question to you before we move on and let the rest of the guys come on here. But I'm sure, Alan, you had heard by now 2 nights ago that Atomic Titan, a man you defeated recently, was on Sportzwire Radio, but that's not the point. It was announced here that Ledger Shade, the man that you obviously once upon a time shared a locker room with in Tennessee Backyard Wrestling, is coming back to here on Sportswire Radio. He's coming back September the 27th, 10 p.m. Eastern time. So as you can guess, we're going to be preempted. We'll be back here next week, but we'll be preempted on the 27th, and we're going through the anthology of Ledger Shade. It'll be 18 chapters, and we'll get to see everything that one of the all-time greats in the backyard wrestling circuit, and especially in TBW, a man that held that championship proud for 500-plus days and pretty much did it all. And he put TBW on his back, and he really put the backyard wrestling circuit on his back. And I was wondering, Alan, what was your impressions on that announcement Wednesday, and just what do you expect here on the 27th, 10 o'clock Eastern time, of a man you shared a locker room with, truly our Hulk Hogan of the backyard wrestling circuit, the one and only legendary Ledger Shade?
Yeah, I think it'd be cool for him to come back on. Haven't heard from him for a while. But yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool. But I didn't really share a locker room with him too long, so I don't really have too many memories about Ledger.
It'll be good to see him. It'll be good to see him back. We're going to have an anthology. It's going to be basically the first ever movie. It's almost the first ever movie in backyard wrestling history, and it's going to be really one I hope everybody tunes in for. We'll get a chance to see Ledger through from beginning to the end, and we'll get a chance to talk with Ledger throughout each chapter. You'll be able to get your chance to speak with the legendary Ledger Shade, and I'm very excited about that. It's our way of saying thank you, and as we're on this road to 1,000 subscribers. Ledger has been so generous with his time, Mr. Ledger, and to be able to be with us to help us get there. He is so, so generous, and we say, God bless Ledger. Thank you, Ledger. We will be honoring Ledger that day and throughout that week, so I'm very excited about that. September the 27th, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Sportswire Radio. The legendary Ledger Shade will be here. Obviously, a man that did it all. He was truly one of the all-time greats, Tennessee State Classics. You think about, obviously, All Hallows Eve. You talk about all the great events in TBW history. He was a part of an anniversary. Mr. Anniversary himself is going to be here in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage, a platform that he helped build. And I'm very, very excited about that. And God bless Ledger for sure. One more comment. Let me get to Ethan. Is when do you guys think we'll see Adam Copeland back in the AEW ring? I don't know.
Probably not till the new year.
It's going to be a minute.
Well, till they get the new TV deal, hopefully. We're joined here by Rob Maraska. I'm going to clear you guys in a minute. Maybe we'll go back to TBK. If I go to football, we'll see. But let me get closing thoughts or final things you guys want to say before I move on with Rob Maraska. I'm going to go with you, TBK, first. Anything you want to say wrestling-wise, and then maybe some closing thoughts.
Sure, absolutely. So touching back on the Wyatt Six, pretty much like Alan was saying, where do we go from here? And that's the big question, obviously. The matches with American Made have been fantastic, but they were billing this last match as the debt being collected, which it now has. So the thing is that tonight, if you paid attention, the Pluto symbol was behind Nick Aldis. Yep. Which is opening up the door for possibly the Wyatt Six to appear on SmackDown, which is wonderful because I always thought that a group like this should be able to have free reign. They should be able to come and go as they please. And the thing is with a group like this is that you don't want it to get stale. The last thing you want is for it to stall out and lose momentum. Keep the options open, keep the opponents limitless. But all in all, I've been very impressed with them and looking forward to seeing more.
Anything else, closing thoughts you want to share for us? Obviously, we're back here next week. We'll definitely have a lot to talk about, I'm sure, wrestling and everything else. Anything else you want to share with us for closing thoughts?
Just as always, thanks for having me on. Good to see you guys, and looking forward to doing it again.
Absolutely looking forward to it. I'm very excited about that. A lot of people were interested and excited about the show, and we're on that road to 1,000 subscribers. So I'm excited about that. We'll let you hang out here, and we'll go to the next Randy Dillon. Randy obviously enjoyed a little bit of the hockey fan chat. I was excited to hear some Canucks talk. Yes, camp is starting. So Neil Villapiano is back, I see, in the rotation as well. So I'm going to give you the floor for some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say? And I pass the baton to you, my friend.
Thanks, Tom. Always a pleasure. TBK, great to see you. Alan Michaels, we need that rematch. Rob, which star have you grimmed? Justin, Chris, great to see you.
We actually do have a death. Rob does have a death when he gets here to talk about it. There is a death.
With wrestling, NXT, if you didn't watch the match between Chelsea Green and Julia, that was something very special to watch. Chelsea Green definitely made Julia impressive in her debut. Looking forward to her title match with Roxanne in 2 weeks. For the other thing is AJ Styles. I know he has disappeared. You know what? I'm interested. Would he be someone with this relation between W and TNA for him to go over to TNA and make an appearance? I know it was on rocky grounds when he left, when Dixie Carter was still in charge, but she's no longer in. I think him going there, making a surprise appearance, working over there, doing some work would be great, especially where
new ownership too. It's Anthem now, so
yeah, so definitely would be interesting there. But listen, Raw's on fire. SmackDown looked like they picked up a bit. NXT,
I did like SmackDown as a whole. I mean, I have to say it was the first SmackDown I watched from top to bottom in like ages. Really, I watched the whole thing. I mean, I had the Met game on in the background in the radio, but I really watched SmackDown almost the entire show tonight. I was into it.
No, exactly. Then NXT's just been listen. They are really setting up big for their CW
Oh, I think
debut.
NXT might have their biggest rated show in their history.
And they're going head to head with AEW, so you know if NXT wins the rating, someone's gonna cry.
Well,
Khan's gonna
hopefully
cry.
AEW signs the contract for whatever new deal they have before October 1st, because something tells me those ratings are going to drop like a rock.
Oh, exactly. And then with the hockey fan chat, we got an episode out with the Canucks. I got actually a few guests lined up, a Calgary Flame fan and my good friend Michael Herbert, who talked about the Edmonton Oilers. We'll get Justin on the show to do our season preview, but hockey's getting wrapped up here starting up pretty soon, and looking forward to that. If you want to hear more, Twitter, follow at Randy Dillon. Tom, always a pleasure.
I just put your Instagram and TBKs up, so if Zilla's out there, give the guys a follow. And Alan, I'm going to go with you last, because obviously it's been a tough, I know, last week or two for you. Hopefully you pick things up. I did like that Instagram post where I got to see maybe Alan Michaels getting back to being Alan Michaels and getting to some victories, but I passed the baton to you. And anything else you want to plug, share, or say it, I'm sure maybe you'll fire a shot or two at Mr. Davidson. And looking forward to seeing you back on TBW and getting us to the road to the Tennessee State Classic, my friend.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a great time. I mean, if you haven't already gone and watched Summer Bash, go ahead and check it out.
2,000 views now, I believe. We just hit 2,000.
2,000 views. To Shane and the rest of the prophecy, your time's coming. It's coming quick. But also have a pretty big announcement as well. I will be having a new song dropping within the next week and a half. So stay tuned for that as well.
It's not going to be God Bless Ledger, right? No, but hopefully he'll maybe listen to the song. Maybe I'll play it during the show if it'll be out by then.
Hey, you never know.
Well, we'll have to find out, but I'll be sure to mention you to Mr. Ledger, by the way. I'll definitely be mentioning you on the 27th. You rest assured. I'll throw everything I can. I'll make sure I mention Alan Michaels to be the man. Maybe you'll be the new successor to Ledger in TBW. Jay Wild won't like that much, but maybe Mr. Ledger will be humored by that. He doesn't get humored too often, though. He's kind of, his own man. But let me get to a few comments here before I let you all go. Yes, hello to the guys. We're going to let them say it. Hello to the Joe Panther Variety Show. Joe, how you doing? Joe, I hope you hit the sub button for me, because I'm on the road to 1,000 subscribers here. I'm on this big road to 1,000 subscribers. I'm going to make your life a lot easier here, because I know I'm really trying to get to 1,000 subscribers here. I'm actually going to put the Sportswire Radio YouTube page up before I let everybody come back in and talk baseball, football, whatever else, because you are a variety show. And Sportswire Radio, well, we pretty much cover it all here, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And all you have to do is go like this, because look what I got here, and that's the Sportswire Radio YouTube page there. Ta-da! So if you can, hit the sub button for me, because I'm 95 subscribers away to 1,000 subscribers. So who knows? Maybe Rob Maraska will take over Sportswire. Who knows? Alan Michaels might do it, TBK, Randy Dillon, Justin Gianelli, Chris Desire. Maybe these guys will roast me when I get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you can, Joe, help me get there one step closer, and I would really appreciate that. So thank you for that. All right, fellas, I'll let the wrestling guys say sayonara for now. We'll see you next week. Maybe I'll pop somebody back on for football, but I got a lot of baseball talk in the meantime. So, gentlemen, thank you as always. Alan, I'm praying for you. I hope you have a good week. Alan left already. Alan's already in a bad mood, so we'll leave it at that. So we'll let TBK and Randy go. Thank you, fellas, for tuning in. And we are now joined by Rob Maraska and Chris Bazaya. They're the co-host of the New York Baseball Talk, New York Baseball Talk, and also the Liftoff Jets. And Justin Gianelli, who makes his return to Sportswire Radio for the first time in a while. And fellas, how you feeling? I would think as New York baseball fans, you three gentlemen are probably really happy guys right now.
Yes, definitely.
So I guess I'll talk about it because, Rob, you are the Grim Reaper of Sportswire Radio. There was a death, unfortunately, in the world of New York baseball that actually hits us pretty hard, and that was the news of Ed Kranepool. Ed Kranepool, a man that actually has a little bit of history because he was a member of the 69 and 73 Mets, an original 62 Met. He was the first draft pick right in franchise history, local guy from the Bronx. And the Mets Hall of Fame passes the way here, I think, at the age of 79. And for those that are listening and watching here in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage on Sports by Radio, talk to me about your thoughts on the sad news of Ed Kranepool, New York Mets Hall of Famer, passing away here earlier this week.
Yeah, very sad news. He's the fourth member of the 69 Mets to pass away this year. So, Yeah,
I thought death goes in threes. That's in fours, Rob. But death goes in threes. This is 4.
Yeah, this is 4. Bud Howson, Jerry Grody, Jim McAndrew, and now Ed Kranepool. I actually got to see Kranepool play live at Shea Stadium a couple of times when I was a kid. Listen, he was, for the longest time, he was one of the faces of the Mets. You know, he started as a 17-year-old. Imagine that, in 62, 17 years old.
First draft pick, right? Comes right up and gets the call.
And that's just amazing. And, you know, decent hitter. Later in his career, he became a specialist, a pinch hit specialist, and he did a great job. You know, right before Rusty Staub did that, Kranepool did it first. Member of the 1969 World Series champions. He hit a home run in the World Series against the Orioles. 73 pennant winners. He was on that team also. He was on the Mets from 1962 to 1979, a long time. When I was a kid.
Longest tenure, right? In Met history, right? Longest tenure.
Yeah, he played in 1,853 games for the Mets.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, so he played in a lot of games. I mean,
now did Wright pass him?
No, Wright is over 1,500. He didn't pass him.
So Kranepool had the most games in team history, right?
Yes. You know,
wow.
Clutch hitter, good hitter. You know, when I was a kid, the Mets, Kranepool was always on the Mets. So it was just Kranepool and the Mets. So very sad to hear about the passing of Ed Kranepool. And he's a Mets Hall of Famer also.
For sure, local guy from the Bronx, definitely local guy, obviously adds to it. You know, certain guys like that. Lee Mazzelli was a guy that grew up in, you know, Gravesend and Sheepshead Bay in Brooklyn here. John Franco, the Marlboro Project. So those, you know, when you hear local guys and come up to the Mets, Stan Jefferson was another one of those guys that was from New York and played for the Mets. And we had, was it Mike Baxter, right, was a local guy? Was it Mike Baxter? It was somebody else that made the catch for Johan Santana, was a local kid from Queens, if I recall correctly. So when you have a local guys that come in, it's obviously a big deal, but we say our thoughts and prayers. But New York baseball definitely did well. Mets win, Yankees win. Let me go to Justin Gianelli first. You haven't been here in ages. You look different. I see you getting married soon. You look like you're a different character, but maybe the New York Mets have been different characters since you came onto the show last. And the New York Mets are in sole possession of a wild card spot, and they could actually move up even further and maybe get themselves into a first wild card the way things are going. And what's your impressions on this Met run, and what a performance going into Philadelphia? They have been as hot as anybody right now, and the Mets demolished them.
Yeah, tonight's game was very enjoyable to watch. You know, the offense came alive after Nola looked good over the first 4 innings, but I always thought watching that game, the biggest key was they were making Nola work that entire game. You know, the first 4 innings, he'd thrown like 60, 70 pitches. So I knew, it would come due for him to get hit around a little bit, and that's what happened. In the 5th inning, they exploded, and it's kind of really been what's carried them throughout the year. The offense really picked it up at the start of June, and obviously in the second half of the year, the pitching has gotten a lot better as well. But overall, the lineup, continues to show how deep it is, especially when Francisco Alvarez could finally get going a little bit. And, Nimmo, who's been struggling a little bit, he's starting to get going a little bit. So makes the lineup a whole lot deeper and a whole lot tougher to face. And that can only be a good sign going forward for the Mets, especially when you look at the way they're pitching. I mean,
how about Sean Manaea? I mean, they were talking about him on the radio the other day, and he's got to be one of the best free agent signings. I mean, where would this team be without a Sean Manaea?
They wouldn't be anywhere. Severino's been pretty consistent. He said a couple of clunkers that made the ERA a little bit higher than you'd like it to be.
I was watching it start earlier in the week. The one he left, and I think it was the Red start where he left and had a hell of a performance there. Couldn't get the win for him, if I recall correctly.
Yes, I think they had the comeback
Sunday game. It was the last game, right? We left, and they had a 1-0 lead. And they lost to 2 in the 9th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're right. That was the Sunday game. But I mean, he's pitched well, and after a tough August, look how good Quintana's been since the start of September. Jose Quintana has really added to this rotation. So, they're taking their turns and going through the lineup, and they've really been pitching well, and the bullpen's pitching better because the bullpen's not getting overtaxed.
Yeah, we don't. We talked even in July. We talked about this bullpen. I don't know. Even Diaz a couple weeks ago had struggled, but the Mets are firing on all cylinders. I was listening to Chris Russo, believe it or not, earlier today, and he was talking about the fact the New York Mets might be the most dangerous team to face in the National League right now. That's a scary thought. The New York Mets, the team that in May, when we left on Sportswire, we didn't go on the air for 2 months, and this Met team was like, I don't even know what they were going to be, but now they're the scariest team to face in the National League. Is that where we are right now?
It might be. I mean, like I said, they're kind of just clicking everywhere right now. The bullpen is not being overtaxed because guys are going 6-7 innings every night in their rotation. The lineup has, for the most part, been pretty consistent by scoring a ton of runs every night, and they're stacking victories. I mean, you really can't put into perspective of what you thought the season was going to turn out to be when they're sitting there 22-33. They just got swept by the LA Dodgers at home. They're about to face an Arizona Diamondbacks team that's coming off the National League pennant. They were off to a pretty good start, and ever since then, ever since the start of June, they've been arguably the best team in baseball. I mean, this is no longer just a small sample size. This has been more than half the season, so this is who they are. They're a good baseball team.
A very solid baseball team. I see some comments. We'll get to them. Some of the regular sports guys are here, hearing some sports. You're going to get that. Let me go to Chris first. I mean, Chris, boy, did Aaron Judge finally get out of his slump? And he came out in a big way. Boy, that was actually a topic now in the national media. There's Aaron Judge. I think I was listening to it earlier this week, and Aaron Judge's slugging percentage was 300 this month. And before that, we were talking about basically 500 on-base percentage, and we're now talking about only a 300 slugging percentage this month alone. And his OPS was basically over 1,000 these last 4 months, and he hit a swoon. But it looks like maybe he came out in a major way. And the Yankees, they get 2 huge wins these last 2 days, and they were powered by the 2 guys that have been really at the top of the lineup the entire year and maybe all of baseball, in Judge and Soto.
Yeah, huge win. They were down 4-0 going into the 7th. I mean, the offense was doing nothing. So they come back, and like you said, Judge hit the home run, number 52. He went 16 games without hitting a home run, so that was his longest drought of his career. So maybe I'm hoping this takes him into the playoffs, and in the playoffs as well. That would be great because he needs a run like that in the playoffs because he hasn't had that yet in his career.
We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. You guys talked about that also, the fact that Judge, he's been the guy with this Yankees team this last half a decade, but he hasn't really had much really serious postseason success to have. And maybe this is the year, a wide open American League. We've talked about it again. Baltimore is what it is. I mean, are people believers in Cleveland? Yeah, Houston's Houston. All right, but a lot of these teams, they really don't have that track record. So it's a jump ball. Maybe Judge gets hot now the last 15 games of the season with Soto, and then you got Cole, you got some guys there still figure out the bullpen. Maybe this is the team that the Yankees have finally been waiting for, and maybe could go into the postseason and go into a World Series for the first time since 2009.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think the pitching is gonna be fine in the playoffs because now you got Schmidt back, and I think the rotation is gonna be fine. The bullpen is gonna. I think once if Weaver can hold on to that closer role, that'll just give everybody else their role in the 8th, 7th, 6th innings. You know what I'm saying? And if the starters could give you 5 or 6 innings, that's all you need, right? For success in the playoffs. It comes down to the lineup, producing runs, and that's been a problem. The last, like you said, half a decade or so. That's been the biggest problem.
Haven't had that consistency, but it's exciting because you got to see it. Yankees and Royals. I mean, was that a postseason preview or what? I got to be honest. I've been listening to a lot of it on the radio, and I was listening to some of the games that those 2 teams played. I tell you what, that would be a hell of a postseason series.
Oh, absolutely. I think anybody would love to see it. I mean, Royals.
Royals get a win tonight in Pittsburgh. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, Royals used to be the big rivalry in the late 70s, early 80s. I know
Rob Morosky was there at those games.
Yeah. Trust me, I was watching them. I was a little
Well,
kid,
Rob
but I
was
really
probably
watched
there.
them.
Rob was probably there watching them.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it because, like you said, I think both leagues are wide open. So all you got to do is get into the
No,
playoffs
it's
this
crazy.
year.
Yep.
It's like
crazy.
last year. I think last year was the same way.
I
Wide
think
open.
this year it's more wide open. I know I got
More
a couple
so, yeah,
guys
this
want to talk some football. I'll get to that in a little while. I promise. I want to say hello to Scooby Stoney. Also, I want to say hello to a new viewer here, and I hope that you're here for the first time, Bert Pamposa. Bert, you gotta hit the sub button for me because Bert, I'm trying to get to 1,000
Miles
subscribers.
Oof.
Yep, you're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Well, I'm going to
Miles
disagree
better.
with that in a minute, but Bert, you gotta go hit that sub button for me because I'm trying to get to 1,000
Yeah.
subs. I'm less than 100 there, so
With that
please.
take, you
Get
should.
me over the finish line. I've
Hit the
been
sub
yelling
button.
about, TikTok got me a couple today. I lost 2, but I gained 3 in the last day. Thank you to TikTok for that. But please, if you're here, hit the sub button for me. All you have to, I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. And what happens is these guys take over Sportzwire Radio. They'll take over. They'll run the platform. They'll do what we'll have New York Baseball Talk Live. Listen, I'll give everybody. You get me to 1,000, it's your platform. So you're gonna get me there, Bert. You're gonna hit that sub button for me, right? You're gonna do that. You're gonna come on here every night, Fridays. I'll talk sports. You make it happen. We'll get it there. Okay, so let's talk. We'll talk about Bert in a minute. But Rob Maraska, I mean, what is this New York Mets team? Chris Russo, of all people, who hates the New York Mets with a passion, said today on the radio that the New York Mets might be the most dangerous team to play right now in the National League. Is that where we are right now?
It's all about the confidence, and these guys have confidence. Just look in the dugout, look on the field. I mean, these guys are just playing. We've been waiting for this for a long time. And yeah, the Mets are a dangerous team because right now, starting pitching, excellent. Bullpens doing great. Clutch hitting. They're not leaving men on base. They went into a little hitting slump, and then boom, they're no hit for 8 innings in Toronto.
That Toronto game, I think Justin was talking about it in the Sportswire group because we have a Sportswire group on X. And this Met lineup from Sunday, even the game they won, and then the game they lost in Toronto. I mean, this team really kind of hit a wall offensively, and they were able to come out. And I mean, what a series changer that was. What a game changer, because, you get the 6 runs in the 9th, and then the floodgates open tonight. I mean, where would we be? How about Bowden Francis? He's had 2 times he goes into a no-hitter and comes up short. Boy, you want to talk about unlucky right there, Rob.
That's in a month. I think the first game was August 24th.
Yeah, it was 2 times in the last 3 weeks. And the other time was also top, actually it was bottom 9 because they were on the road. Nobody out in the 9th inning. And that time Taylor Ward hit a home run.
And the ironic part of that, the Toronto Blue Jays only have 1 no-hitter in their history. 1.
Yes.
And how many times probably Halladay went into the 8th or 9th?
Well, they said Steve
lost
twice.
a couple.
They were talking about it on the radio that Steve twice went into a game in the 9th inning with a no-hitter and lost it. So there you have it.
Not just the 9th inning. He was 1 out away. He had two games where he had a no-hitter through 8 2/3, and he couldn't quite get it, and then he finally got it.
And one was against the Yankees, I believe, too.
Rob Maraski was probably there at that game.
That one too, yeah.
Listen,
he's been at a lot of baseball history games. He's been at a lot.
Rob Maraski was probably there for the beginning of baseball. Who created baseball? Was Rob Maraski there for that?
He's all over the place. He's like that Marlins man that's at every baseball game now.
Oh yeah.
Right. Well, there's a guy.
He's the original Marlins man.
Well, Justin will know this because there's a guy who watches the Nets. This big super fan. He's got to be like 100. He sits at like all the games in the front row. He's
the whammy guy.
Yeah, that's it. The whammy guy.
Yeah,
Robert is the whammy guy of Sportswire Radio. But I think that's it. Listen, that game, you look back, if the Mets lose that game in Toronto, you lose 2 out of 3, you maybe go into this Phillies series. You had the day off. You're thinking about what happened. You no hit. You lose that game. You're behind in the standings. But now you win that game the way you do, and the floodgates open. The only thing is, do we think Lindor's going to be okay? Do we think Lindor? Yeah. Rob Maraska froze. Rob Maraska froze when I mentioned Lindor, so Rob Maraska's worried. Rob Maraska, are you okay? When I mentioned Lindor, you got nervous. Are you okay, Rob? We got a big point out right now. The people are tuned into you for the first time. Rob has lost it. Rob is just, He sees people live on YouTube, and he's just the general excitement. But is Lindor going to be okay, Justin? I asked you that question.
I think so, but now there's this report floating out there from a Venezuelan baseball reporter that the Mets are planning to call up Luis Angel Acuna tomorrow.
Well, if the Mets lose Lindor for any significant time,
it's lights out. I mean, there's a reason why he's in the MVP conversation. I mean, he really has been everything for this team.
Ramaraska, you lost it. You lost it.
Yeah,
he didn't want to deal with
knocked me off.
He didn't want. He didn't want to deal with this conversation. But listen,
he's gonna have to.
I'm not gonna believe it until I start to see that from like an Andy Martino or an Anthony DiComo. I'm not gonna believe that report just yet. So, we'll wait and see on that. So, my initial reaction is if it was a 3-2 game, Lindor's probably staying out there. So,
back soreness. What do you make of that? Back soreness?
Not much.
Ramaraska gets that back soreness from watching every Met game. I mean, he's there for he's glued to his seat.
We all do. After a certain age, after 30, 35, you're done. Backache.
Well, my running joke is I hope to die on Sportswire, but that's
if you're 40 years old, you got backaches every day. So don't worry about it.
Okay, well, you know what?
Fine. Lindor will be fine.
Okay.
Everybody's got backaches, right? In September, right? They just played 140 games or whatever we're at.
They have.
He hasn't missed a game.
Yeah, and he hasn't missed a game. So
I want to come back to that. I got a lot of comments here. I definitely want to get to them. I actually have a lot of comments. Let me say hello to everybody. So let's do that here. Woo Riders is in the house from Jacksonville. How you doing, Woo Riders? We hope that you tuned in with us as always. Woo's here for us all the time, so we appreciate that. And a lot of people are here with us. So if you're here, please hit the sub button for us. I cannot stress it. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs. But somebody who has subbed is Joseph Bostrom. Joseph G. Bostrom. I know his middle initial, but I won't say it live. Big win in Philadelphia. Hope Lindor is okay. The win on Wednesday in Toronto. Yeah, I think the loss Sunday in Cincinnati, you had a chance to get that sweep. You're up and you lose that game. That was kind of a gut punch. I know you came back. You got the win in Toronto right afterwards, but that, to me, that got that one back because, again, you wanted that one back with Cincinnati, but that's a game changer. Scooby, obviously, who is always the optimistic Jet fan, but didn't seem to me like much different. But we'll see in Tennessee. Maybe I'm going to spend a few minutes on football in a little while. Anybody with eyes can see the Yanks are phony. Well, why do you say the Yankees are phony? Why are the Yankees phony for? They're in first place. I mean, TBK, I'm sure, going to tell you about the Orioles side, but what's the deal with the Yankees? Do we know Bert Pamposa? Bert, I hope you hit the sub button for me.
You could say they're inconsistent. How's that? I'll take inconsistent.
But every team this year in baseball has had flaws. But every team has flaws.
I'm not going to say they're not phony. They're what they are.
The Phillies slept walk for 2.5 months, right? The Dodgers have basically slept walk through the year. The Braves have had their injuries. The Guardians have kind of been up and down. Baltimore's had their problems. I mean, Houston had maybe a worse start than the Mets did at one point. I mean, you look at everybody's had flaws. Maybe Milwaukee's been the most consistent team. Maybe Milwaukee. They kind of the most under the radar team. Maybe
it might be in the weaker division too. Out of every division now,
they've kind of been. If you look at them, they've been steady the entire year. Minnesota's faltered a little bit right going into today. Detroit's making a last minute surge. Is it worth anything? I don't know. Kansas City's missing Pasquantino, but they've been, up and down.
Detroit's right back in. I think they're out 2.5 games now.
I was saying Detroit. That was the team. I mean, I'll come back to them. We'll go into the situation, but let's get to some comments. Got to eat sugars. Well, I'll get to the scoreboard. Yep. Hope you feel better there. But football was saying that there should be a team memo said that no Ravens player is allowed to drive for the rest of the season. First Andrews, now Wiggins. Well, Uber's doing discounts right now, but we'll come. He's got a baseball comment I'll get to. Great way for Judge to end the home run slump. Any contact this week? No, we don't. I don't know, Rob. Maybe we'll see what Rob feels next week on the show because we're here. We're here next week now, but the following week we're preempted. But we're here next week, so you are.
There's one comment. There's one coming up.
And maybe we have a death comment from Rob Maraska. Hopefully not that.
No more.
Well, let's hope not.
Huge
win for the Yankees. Let me ask you this question: Is this? I mean, I know it's still going to come down in Baltimore 2 weeks from now, but Are you guys starting to think the Yankees might be pulling away with this or what?
You know what? If they could get on a consistent roll, yeah, I think they will pull away because the Orioles, listen, they've shown all year they've had no closer and their bullpen is a mess. And lately their rotation got hurt. So now their pitching is just a total mess. And their lineup is still good, but it's not.
And Burns has not had as good a start lately, right? He's slumped a
They're
little
not
bit.
hitting well. They're not hitting well right now.
Exactly. You know, Santander has been great all year, but the other guys, they were great, and then they're kind of slumping towards the end. I mean, I think it's the younger guys hitting the wall a little bit. So, but I think they have absolutely no pitching. If they could get a couple of their starters back, maybe they can make a run in the playoffs. But with that pitching, I really doubt they will.
Trust me.
Yeah,
it's really hard. It's really hard to trust Baltimore right now.
Exactly.
They just, like Chris said, there's just not enough consistency for them.
That's what TBK was talking about here. The Orioles will not survive the postseason long by continuing to leave runners on the bags and not being able to score when necessary. Bats are going cold. This is the worst time of the year. Go cold.
Don't want to slump now.
You don't want to slump now. And you are right, Chris. Also the Reds beat the Twins, and it's 2.5 between the Twins and Tigers. So maybe the Tigers are making a late surge here. We'll see.
You never look at the Mets, right?
Yeah, the Mets are just
about the wild card. They might be going for if they could sweep the Phillies, and they got 4 more games next week. You know what? You guys are right into forget about the wild card. You're going for the division now.
I think that's
they're not phonies anymore. Like the Yankees.
Yeah.
You guys are going for the division.
I don't know. I think the Mets have a steep hill to climb for the division, and I think that's a steep climb. But let's get to some comments. Joe Della's in the house, and Joe has got some new music, I know, for the New York Baseball Talk, which is going to premiere coming up this Monday on Sportzwire Radio.org. So definitely check that out and sub right there. Thank you, Joe, for your support. Ron Franklin's in the house. Ron was here for wrestling. He's back for baseball. Phillies are the best in the NL East. Yes, the Phillies are the team to beat in the NL East. Yes, I don't think the Mets are winning the National League East. They do not think that's going to happen. Yes.
You never know.
Let's go, Mets. Well, we'll see. I think
Sunday. Listen, what if the Mets sweep, right? And you're on Sunday. What are you going to be, 4 games out or 5 games out?
5.
5 games out. And next week you got 4 games at home against the Phillies.
Yeah, but you know what?
You're just throwing it out there.
Let's see if Lindor plays tomorrow. Let's see the Phillies. Phillies have been really good at home all year. Yeah, and I'm with Ron Franklin. I don't think the Phillies are getting. They have been amazing at home. I just don't see the Mets sweeping. Let the Mets get 2 out of 3. Split the next 2. Yeah. Arizona's losing right now. San Diego and San Francisco are locked in a match. We'll see. Let's go from there. I think Rob Marasa's got the best hair on SportsWire. So there you have it. Rob Marasa's got the best hair on SportsWire. Little known facts: when Babe Ruth hit the infamous home run that he was actually pointing at Rob in this. I think Rob and Bobby Tats were there. Bobby Tats, Uncle Tats. He can't pick up his phone. That's Bobby Tats. Yeah, Bobby Tats. Yeah.
Then we went out for a drink afterwards in Garfield, New Jersey.
Bobby stuttered probably the whole time on the air, and you were probably talking about Met memories. Yeah. Let's come back here to Joey Bostrom. Just imagine if the Mets sweep Philadelphia. Yeah, listen, let's see the Lindor report first. Let's see where we go from there with that. Realistically speaking, let's get one of the next 2. You still got it. Atlanta won tonight, by the way. Dodgers and Braves. Braves get a big win. That obviously, kind of puts a little bit of a feather there, a little bit toward the Mets. And, Brewers are up 2-1 right now. So, we'll have to find out for sure where we go from there on those things. So we'll take that off the screen. But let me give a rest hold a little bit and talk about those Chicago White Sox because they lost yet again. So those Chicago White Sox. So I guess it looks like we're going to have a record maybe by next week, huh?
Oh, it's happening.
I hope so.
Well, Rob's probably the one guy with the 62 Mets, right there.
115 losses now, right? And what do they need? 5 more to tie the Mets?
Yep, 5
33 and 115. They're getting it. I mean,
they might get it by the time.
I was saying
Friday night.
That's what I said. Friday show. Yeah, you could have it by then. They have to open the show with that. I'd have to open it up.
You gotta. Yeah. Hey, it's a record that's been around for how long? 60 years, 62 years.
Do you want to have that record if you're a White Sox player?
No, no way.
Not at all.
No,
it's a record though. It's a record.
It's not a good record.
That's a bad record.
Right? That's a really bad
They're
record.
going to have it. 33 wins in a Major League Baseball season. 33 wins.
That's the type of record that the Mets have been waiting 63 years to shed.
Well, they're going to certainly shed it, it looks
How
like.
how many more from the 62 Mets are still around? Are there any?
There's a couple.
Yeah.
I'm
sure they'll be out with their champagne glasses.
Yeah, can we party?
Like the Dolphins do, right? Whenever a team stops their unbeaten streak or something like
Well,
that.
I mean, the Patriots technically did tie it in the regular season. They did have an undefeated season. I mean, technical. I mean, yes, technically the Dolphins had a perfect season, complete winning the Super Bowl. But the Patriots did have a perfect regular season. I mean, depending on, I guess your optics, but
yeah.
But White Sox, you wouldn't want to be a White Sox player to have that record, you're telling me.
No.
No way. No way.
The worst. Who wants to be remembered as the worst,
But I'm remembered for something.
History.
I'm remembered for something.
I guess.
You don't remember the 43 and 119 Detroit Tigers?
I don't remember who was on it though.
The 2003 Tigers? Could I name a player on the Detroit Tigers that was that 2003 team?
I'm trying to remember myself.
2003. Was Placido Polanco? Was he on that team? Maybe Placido Polanco.
He might have been. What sticks out in my mind was because it's not going to happen this year with the White Sox. Mike Maroth lost 21 games that year.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, that name I remember a little bit. Yeah, was Verlander on that team in 2003?
No,
that was too far for him. Let's see, 2003.
Okay,
let's see who was on there.
Yeah, give me the play. I got a couple comments here. Yep.
Oh no, he was the manager. Trammell was the manager.
Oh, that's right. He was a manager.
Well, he went from the 84 tie. He went from wire to wire, 35-5 to 43 and 119 here. Let me get to a couple of comments here. The Giants have a better chance to sweep the Eagles than the Mets sweeping the Phillies. I think that's a little statement because the Mets are 81 and 67. The Mets are having a good season, but I agree with you that I don't think they're going to sweep. I think that's a little bit of a. I'll get to football in about 15 minutes. I will do football for a little bit. I'll do about 20 minutes on football. White Sox will have the record by next week, and the A's are going to be a problem next year. Yeah, Oakland. We spoke about Oakland on the show last week. I definitely think that Oakland can be competitive. But my question is in that ballpark still, playing in a ballpark where you're going to play this odd schedule, and who goes there as free agents? Who's going to play in Oakland or Sacramento now?
They're not spending. They're not going to spend money.
Yeah, forget about someone wanting to go there. I think Justin's right. They're probably not going to spend much money. They're going to wait till free agency's over and pick up the scrap heaps, whoever, the scrap pieces that are left over, whoever that might be. And that's it. And go, but at least they got a good group of young players now that'll go into next season. At least they got something, White Sox got nothing going into next season.
Think about how good has Mason Miller been this year in the bullpen.
He's the best. That guy's great.
Yeah. And how about Lawrence Butler too?
Mm-hmm.
They had a over 500 record in the second half. I mean, they've been, they've had
good. Rookie's got like 40 home runs, right?
Now, listen, there's
something like that,
a competitive team for sure. No question about that. We'll certainly see. I want to say hello to Levi McDaniel, who's here a second time, of course, the owner of LMFP Promotions, and he's probably wondering what's the baseball talk here. But Levi, thank you as always for tuning in. We love Levi. He's the general manager in the IMF, but okay, we'll take that off. Take Joey Bostrom's off the screen here, but okay. So, all right. So I got the White Sox deal. The White Sox will definitely finish with 120 plus losses, but the Detroit Tigers. I want to talk about them for a couple minutes. Are the Detroit Tigers for real? They've got the Cy Young winner. It looks like the likely one in the American League, but can they really overtake the Minnesota Twins and get into the playoffs? And I mean, that would be kind of almost a major story a little bit, I would think.
Listen, the Twins are not playing well, so why not?
2.5 back. I mean,
you're right there. Do they play it? Let me see if they played them at all.
Don't they have one more series? Tigers 76 and 72 right now.
They don't play them. They play Kansas City in their division.
Baltimore coming up, right?
Baltimore's next.
Well, they got three. They end the season with the White Sox, I remember. So that means you're getting 3 victories right there. You should get 3 victories. So
that's
they got the problem is they got Baltimore for 2 series, home and away. They got at Kansas City,
But
home
Baltimore's
against Tampa,
struggling right
and home
now.
against the White Sox.
Baltimore's basically been a 500 team the last 2 months. I mean,
Yeah, but
they
they're
can
going
win
to be
that.
fighting. So, that's a team you don't want to
So is
play.
Detroit, though.
Right. Yeah, no,
So
Detroit's playing
Detroit.
good. It really comes down to Minnesota. Like, what is Minnesota going to do down the stretch?
I don't know. It's a good question. That's a very good question.
Listen, the way the Tigers are playing now, anything's possible. The way Minnesota's playing too, only 2 games. That's it. That's nothing right now. 2 games. That's it.
Yep.
Anything could happen.
You gotta keep playing, good ball, stay hot, and that's it. Like Minnesota, let's see what their end of their
Tigers are 37-24 their last 61 games. I mean, that's a big number.
Minnesota has Cincinnati until Sunday, and then they got at Cleveland, at Boston. Then they come home to finish up against Miami.
Tigers have won 21 of their last 30 games to boot. I mean,
and I think the Tigers got the lesser schedule too. So they got the.
Well, I mean, you got Tampa and Chicago. I mean, those games you got to win 5 out of 6. You beat them 5 out of 6. Hope to split with the Orioles and try to take 2 out of 3 with Kansas City. That might put you over the top. That might get you enough. That might get you to 87, 86, might take it. 86, 87 wins might get you a playoff spot. And TBK, who watched them today, said, yeah, they won. And, that's the thing. The Tigers are playing hot ball. I'm just saying that they could be the team to watch there. Just that it's kind of fascinating that the Detroit Tigers, who would have guessed the Kansas City Royals and the Detroit Tigers could possibly be playoff teams this year? What an interesting scenario.
Wide open season.
And the Royals have been comfortably in position all year long. The
Pretty much.
Tigers are kind of surging of late.
In June, maybe it was a period of June. You would have said, all right, that's a team that's struggling a little bit. But otherwise, I mean, they've been pretty much a playoff team. And I mean, watching Seth Lugo there, almost he could very well, if it wasn't for Scooble, he might be the Cy Young winner this year.
He's had a really good year.
I mean, how about that signing there? I mean, ERA is what, 2.7 or something like that? 2.7 after the last start.
Walker's been pretty solid for them too. That was another, good signing. Not a great,
just a solid team that, they'd be dangerous. I mean, they could be that's a team that's maybe dangerous. And Joey Bostrom would like to say, AL and NL wild cards coming down to the last week of the season for sure. I mean, the National League, you're talking about 4 teams for 3 spots in the National League. I know the Cubs are alive, but I don't think the Cubs are going anywhere. In the American League, it's coming down likely to Minnesota and Detroit. I mean, I guess Seattle's alive. I mean, but does anybody really think Seattle is going to make the playoffs? They choke anyway when they're in a spot. They never. I don't think they're going anywhere.
Their lineup is just not that good.
They haven't had it.
But their lineup is,
No, I don't see it. So, I mean, but, some other scores of note here. We'll come back to that. Maybe we'll do a few more minutes on baseball. Then I'll talk a little bit of football for a few minutes. And we're here on Sportswire Radio with Justin Gianelli, Chris Bizai, and I got his last name right finally, and Rob Maraska. They are the co-host of the New York Baseball Talk. Chris also is the host of the Liftoff Jets here. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally where all sports matters and all wrestling matters. And thank you very much for tuning in here. We've got a great turnout here. And if you're on Sportswire Radio on YouTube, hit the sub button for me. I'm on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And if you're here also, we have a website where we play all of our great internet shows, such as the Liftoff Jets, such as the New York Baseball Talk. And here's how you can go and view it. All you have to do is get this, ladies and gentlemen, go right here. You have Sportswire Radio, and there's this little button. All you have to do, you click on that, and that provides you right now to us being simulcasted. If you don't have a chance to see us on YouTube, you don't have the app, you're not on YouTube, you can listen to us anytime on sportswireradio.org. And TBK, his podcast has been played on there. Randy Dillon, who you saw a little while ago, his podcast has been played on there. So all you have to do is go to the Listen Live button on sportswireradio.org, and we definitely love to see you, and also want to thank everybody tuned in out there on Twitch. We have some new followers on Twitch. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on X right now, so you'll join us later on X when I share the link. But until then, we're here with the guys talking all things related to baseball. We'll talk about football for a few minutes as well. So I'll take Joey's off the screen. Anything else you guys want to talk about baseball? Anything else I should know about in these pennant races?
It's wide open. That's the best way to say it. Everything is
Kind of
wide
like
open.
Alan Michaels' back door a couple weeks ago on Sportzwire when he talked to his back door was open. Alan Michaels and that back door incident. But yeah, it's wide open right now. Very wide open.
I think, like you said, outside of the Brewers, every
Well,
division
locked
is still up for grabs. The Dodgers are only up by 4.5. The Phillies, like I said, if the Mets sweep them, at least you're going to make them sweat a little bit going into your next matchup. You know what I mean? If you sweep them now, you're gonna get them saying, "Whoa, we gotta," like it'll be a wake up call for them, and let's see if they wake up.
Well, I got one more thing I do want to talk about, and it's actually a long awaited return. And I almost am saying to myself, well, why did this even happen? And it's none other than a guy that used to be a New York Met. His name is Jacob deGrom, and Jacob deGrom made his return to the major leagues, and he is in a mound as we speak right now, or he probably finished his outing just because the Texas Rangers have a 3-0 lead over the Seattle Mariners. So there you go with the Mariners lineup problems. But I'll ask Rob Maraska first because obviously he's been glued into this. Rob, Jacob deGrom finally returns out there, which felt like forever, but he is on the mound, and is it too little, too late, and why? And what do you think about all this and Jacob deGrom and him returning to the mound here for the first time in a very long time as he took the mound tonight against the Seattle Mariners?
Well, they say hindsight is 20/20, right?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Now it's a terrible signing. Okay, it really, really was a terrible signing. We haven't really even thought about deGrom. I'm glad that he came back. I don't wish anything bad on him. He was a great Met, great pitcher for us. But, that's old news now. Too late. This season's done for the Rangers. So it's just, he came back. He pitched, I don't know how many innings. Do you know how many innings he pitched tonight?
I can tell you. Yeah.
3 2/3.
Okay.
It's a soft return. You're not going to put
him up any
9
runs.
innings. They're out of it. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
He didn't give up any runs, but he's pitching against the Mariners. So, that's.
And I believe Scherzer's coming back tomorrow, too, as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah, another one. The way the Mets are playing now, we're not even thinking about those guys.
The Mets made out like bandits. They get rid of those guys, and all that money would have went to deGrom, Scherzer, the prospects you got, and the Mets are looking pretty good right now. And Texas, they're holding the bag, but listen, they got the World Series out of it, but not much help from deGrom, obviously. But look, he's here and he's going to pitch, and Scherzer's out there as well. And I guess if you're Texas, you hope to get maybe something out of him next year to try and get one more shot at this, I suppose.
Yeah, that's it. That's all they have to wait until next year and see how those guys are.
But with this late in the season for you guys, would you have wanted him to go out and pitch, let's say 2-3 starts? Is that worth it, or just let him, rehab continue? Or is it worth it to take a chance on a guy who's had so many injuries in Jacob deGrom when you're pretty much out of it? I know you're sort of alive, but you're like 8 games back. You're not going anywhere. Would you guys have let deGrom pitch a couple of starts coming up, or what's your guys' takes on that?
Yeah,
why not? Right?
It's kind of twofold, right? Yeah, you worry about him getting hurt again in a season which is lost. The Rangers are not making the playoffs.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's good for him to over the next couple of weeks get a couple starts in, build back up to that 95 to 100 pitch threshold. And go into the offseason pretty normally, and in his mind, be like, yeah, I came back and I don't have to worry about, extra rehab in the offseason, something potentially going wrong. He can come back and have a normal offseason, get ready for a normal spring training next year, and be full go in 2025 for the Rangers.
All right, we'll see. Obviously, it's a Rangers team that I was going to certainly go and have one more run at it. Bochy, anyway, always after the year he wins the World Series, always struggles. So you kind of figured just that would happen. But Texas obviously
he's getting paid $40 million this season.
Yep,
$40 million.
$40 million for what? 3 starts. Some life. $40 million for 3 starts. How do you like
not
that?
Bad.
40
not bad.
$40 million.
2 years.
Not bad, right?
Right. I wish I could get that right.
Good
well,
work,
a lot of
people
but Texas again, 7.5 back. They're not really gonna go anywhere realistically. We don't see it. I don't really see anywhere with that. Houston's got the lead over the Angels 5-3 anyway. So Seattle will pretty much, if they lose 5.5 back. Cubs lost to the Rockies. Rockies seem to play well as usual against teams above 500. There goes that. Brewers are up 2-1 over the Diamondbacks, top of the 8. Obviously, that's certainly for the Mets. We're looking at an eye out very closely. And San Diego 4, San Francisco nothing. No help for the Giants for us, obviously. Oakland 2, Chicago nothing. We spoke about that. Cincinnati 8, Twins 4. Cincinnati largely disappointing, but the pesky team to play. Rays 3, Guardians 1. Rays will be back next year, you kind of feel like. Braves 6, Dodgers 2. 4, Blue Jays, Cardinals 3. Blue Jays might be a team I think also could be low. Got a lot of starting pitching back. You know, also made some moves. Maybe they're a team that's I look at. Nationals 4, Marlins 1, Royals 8, Pirates 3, Mets 11, Phillies 3. TBK, unfortunately, his Orioles get shut out to the Tigers. And those are your scores right now as we speak. A bunch of day games early. Mets are playing 4:05, Yankees 1:05. So those are some games to keep an eye on. So late games are 9:40. We're in the last couple of weeks of the season, and we'll talk about that. But I think for about 20 minutes, it is time to talk football. I got Joe Dell waiting for it. I know Jet fans are going to be painful about it. They're going to have a lot of pain in talking about it. I saw my brother on Facebook yelling about it, crying about it. But is it the same old Jets? Because from what I saw, it didn't seem like to me it was the New York Jets everybody was talking about as Super Bowl. I saw Neil Villapiano, Jets AFC Championship game. I saw other people talking Jets Super Bowl, and seemed to me like it was Jets Are You Ready on Monday night, and they didn't seem to be ready, especially with Christian McCaffrey out. But what you guys all think?
You know what? I look at it this way. It's week 1. They were rusty.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't play any games in the preseason, the starters, right? So these are, you know, especially like just for the offensive line, this is the first game they're playing together, you know, at all as a unit. Sure. Aaron Rodgers, first game in 2 years, basically, right?
Yeah.
He played the 4 snaps last year. That doesn't count. It's going to take them a couple of weeks. I think you're going to see a big improvement this week coming up against Tennessee, and then you're going to see even more of an improvement in game 3. So there's just too much talent there. I'm a little bit worried, I'll be honest, with the run defense, because it wasn't that good last year, and there was no
McCaffrey. I mean, you should have been able to. San Francisco they ran the ball up and down the field, and offensively they moved pretty well on Monday.
Oh yeah, all game
That's
long.
the part that's what I'm concerned about with the Jets. Other than that, I think the offense is going to get going this week. I think they're going to look much better. The defense, the pass rush especially, has got to get better. The defense as a whole is going to be better, but I still think the run defense is going to be a little bit of our Achilles heel, because it was last year. And you got to remember, they let a couple of guys go, JFM, which was big, Tony Jefferson. So that's what I'm concerned. But otherwise, I think this team is going to be good still. It's not same old Jets. I think it's going to be a much better team.
I'm sure you and Sharman are going to talk about that. I have no doubt about that. And if you are here, that's Chris on X. Please give him a follow. The Liftoff Jets will play throughout the weekend on Sportzwire Radio. I'll probably play it actually tomorrow. I'm going to play it tomorrow. I usually play it on Sunday, but I think we'll play it tomorrow, and we'll get a chance to hear you and Sharman. I actually went out for a walk 2 days ago. Unfortunately, I have a blister on my foot, so I ain't walking too far right now, but I had a chance to listen to you and Sharman talk about the game that took place on Monday, so we'll see what you have to say then. And what about for the rest of you guys on the Jets? You guys same old Jets, or you feel like they'll turn the corner here in Tennessee?
I think they're going to turn the corner. You know, they were playing the 49ers. You know, Rodgers, like you said, he was out all season last year. The defense really didn't look great. It was, you know, I was disappointed. I thought they were going to play better, but I agree with Chris. I think the next couple of weeks they're going to play better, and I think the Jets are going to be all right. But we have to, you know, we just have to see. It was the 49ers, and you know, it wasn't a pretty game.
No, it really was. It was not a pretty game at all to watch. I mean, the Jets were really somewhat competitive, but we'll get to a couple of Jet comments in a second. But for you, Justin, as I'm talking to a trio of Jet fans, what was your take on Monday's game going into Sunday?
Pretty concerning, but mostly from the defensive standpoint. That was really my only takeaway, in which I didn't want to feel like I was overreacting. I didn't want to overreact when it came to the offense. I knew the offense would go through a little bit of growing pains. Obviously nobody played in preseason. Obviously Rodgers didn't play, but you didn't see Hall at all. You didn't see Wilson. Obviously Mike Williams was on a snap count. He, only was limited to like 15 plays, and hopefully he plays a little bit more this week. Sounds like that's what Salah said. But the run defense, like Chris said, it was an issue last year, and it looked a lot worse this year. And you went up against a backup running back, and now you go up a team with Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears in the backfield for Tennessee. They're probably going to want to lean on the run game, especially after some of the mistakes Will Levis made against the Bears. He had a disaster. He had a couple of disastrous turnovers that led to some Bears points, but this game is not going to be easy for the Jets, and I'm a little worried about them, but I'm also like, wait until Rodgers gets his feet wet, and he's been back for a few weeks, and he still hasn't played a full game yet because they pulled him for Taylor late in the game and let Taylor get the blowout snaps, but it was good. That was basically what I took out of it. We got out of the game, and Rodgers got out of the game healthy.
All right, let me ask you guys then this question. I got a couple comments I'll get to them in a minute. Is this a must-win game for the Jets?
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Yeah. I think so. Listen, if they lose and they lose ugly like they lost against San Fran, the alarms are going to go off. People are going to, it's going to be horrible, especially here in New York. But if they lose, if it's a tight game or whatever, all right, we'll live, because I think Tennessee's not as bad as people think they are. I think they're a very good team, especially on defense. But I believe that they're going to be a much better team this week, the Jets. And I think every game, going forward, they're going to get a little bit better, especially on offense. They just have to. I mean, there's just too much talent on that side of the ball for them to play like they did this past week. So I think we're going to see a much better team. I think the Jets are going to win. Tight game, but they should win. And like Justin said, I mean, I'm worried about that run defense. That run defense looked horrendous. And we're talking about not even a backup. That's really their third string, because they backed up Elijah Mitchell. He got hurt right before.
That's why Jet fans were optimistic going into Monday, that they thought that, again, with McCaffrey out, that the Jets could really legitimately win that game. And the way San Francisco moved the ball up and down the field throughout most of that game, you kind of walked away and saying, well, that could be an Achilles heel for this team going forward.
And that was the most yards for this kid going back to high school. He didn't even get as many yards in a college game. So that's just incredible.
Well, he certainly accomplished it on Monday Night Football. Let me get to a few comments. First of all, the legendary Joe Dell says, we have a better chance against the Titans. Yeah, I think the Jets can definitely win that game. Zilla's in the house, but Zilla, I think you missed the wrestling too. But don't worry, Sean Jovi's here tomorrow at 9:30. That'll be a big crowd for that. So you'll be, I'm sure, pumped up for that. And Aaron Blaze is here the following day. So, and your friend Steven Storm will be here also. But can't be the same old Jets. Rodgers actually made it through the whole game. Clever analogy.
There you go.
Yeah, he's funny.
Yeah.
Jets defense needs to get better. Aaron will get better. Got to run the ball better, but the Jets will be okay.
I agree.
Well, if they go 0-2, though, we're not saying the season's over. It's a 17-game season now, but to go 0-2, okay, maybe you give a pass in San Francisco, but you didn't like the circumstances. But if you lose in Tennessee,
the alarms go off,
and you got a short turnaround for week 3.
Yeah. And you know
but
what?
But if it's close though, but I could see the panic. Yes, you're definitely right.
Either way, there'll be a panic. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, there'll be a lot of panic in New York right now, because I got to bring it up real quick. I mean, Daniel Jones. I mean, is he the worst quarterback in the NFL right now, or am I missing something?
No, he's not.
No,
he's close though.
Yeah,
he's definitely on the bottom.
What's his leash like as the starting quarterback for the New York Giants?
Oh, it's got to be as short as can be. I mean, you got to be ready to pull the plug, and I'm not talking about pulling the plug to Drew Lock. Just play Tommy DeVito, please. Just play Tommy DeVito.
They're going back
The
down that road.
Giants are going. The Giants are going absolutely nowhere. You look at that roster; it's not a good roster. They really are a bottom 5 roster in the NFL if you really think about it.
But they won 6 last year. I mean, I know you have no Barkley this year, but you won 6, and they were in a lot of games.
And Max, you're winning 6 this year. I think they're going to win 4 or 5. Honestly,
Yeah.
They just.
So what is that? And then if the Jets, okay, the Jets story I got, but if the Giants win 4 or win 5, what is Dable's job security like?
Gone. None. There is none. It's gone.
See, I don't know. It could go either way because remember, these guys didn't draft a quarterback, right? They didn't draft Daniel Jones. So do they get a chance to
is
bring
John
in their
Mayer
own
going
guy?
to give them a 4th year?
I know. That's what I'm saying.
The way things fell apart last year and then this being another bad year. That's the only concern, especially knowing that the chance to potentially hire Bill Belichick next year, because he said he wants to coach in 2025. He's going to try to find the right
The
guy.
Giants go 5-12. Dable's done, and we give everything to a 74-year-old, 75-year-old Bill Belichick.
I don't think he gets the full keys. I don't know that he wants that anymore. I think he'd be happy being the head coach at this point because that's a lot of responsibility. I mean, you could see it took a toll on him at the end of New England. The roster decisions were poor. He drafted Mac Jones, who absolutely sucked. I mean, listen. I think he would be willing.
That was their own doing too. Let's be honest, right?
But could you say that
having Patricia as your offensive coordinator?
But could you also make the case, should the Giants have this kind of year, that Daniel Jones wasn't his quarterback?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like they were given this guy. It's almost like, I don't know. It's like firing Salah, and the GM if they didn't get a chance to draft their own quarterback.
Right.
They did, and they screwed up.
Well, Salah's going to be on the hot. He's on the hot seat too.
Absolutely, they got to win.
easily.
If they don't win, they're done too.
If they don't make the playoffs, and Aaron Rodgers is here for a full season, I'm sure that they're going to pull the plug.
Yeah.
Let me get to a few comments, and I'll get to the Giants back. Rodgers didn't play the whole game. TBK says the Rodgers comment was as good as that hairstyle there, Bubba. Maybe old, but it's still relevant. Okay. And that was those uniforms. What was with those uniforms? Obviously, everybody was talking about nobody liked
100th anniversary uniforms.
Yeah,
those were the worst,
man. Too
Terrible.
I thought having them on opening day was probably.
The Giants seem to really lay eggs historically on opening days at home. I don't know what it is, but they've had
last year was 40-0.
Yeah, the blowout.
Yeah.
They just had some clunkers there, but I would think the Giants. That being said, could still win Sunday. What if the Giants win Sunday and they're 1-1 and
I think
everybody's
won? Haven't they won like 9 of 10 from Washington or something? Or
yeah, you win 1-1. All of a sudden, everything's back to normal. Oh, they're 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a game that they're gonna, but the rest of the schedule. Bring up the rest of their schedule, Tom.
I could do that for you. Give me 1 second. I'll
check this out. This is not gonna be easy.
No, it's not.
After this week.
Well, I'll tell it to you. I can't share it on the screen realistically, but I can tell you who the Giants play. I can tell you who. So the Giants got Cleveland. Okay, well, Cleveland might be winnable now.
Right?
The situation. All right, so you got that. You got Dallas on a Thursday night. That's a loss.
That's
you got in Seattle. That's a loss. It's in Seattle. Cincinnati. That's a loss. Philly. Probably a loss. They always play Philly tough, but that's a loss. You got Pittsburgh, and that's a loss.
That's a loss.
Washington's winnable. All right, Washington could beat Washington. Yeah. Panthers are winnable. Panthers, you could definitely win Panthers.
If they lose to Carolina, that would be, I'd fire them after that game.
Can you imagine the excitement, the people of Germany? They're like, yeah, we get an NFL game.
Yeah.
Hey, Germany, you get Giants Panthers.
Oh, God.
Well, you know what? They're going to get it. Well, they're going to definitely get it.
I think that's going to bring down the audience.
It's not great. You got Tampa, Atlanta, they look like a 5-12, 6-11 football team. You could probably make that case. I mean, there's no question that.
I think that's best case scenario, Tom. Best case.
Yeah.
Well, Dayball's done a decent job the 2 years. You can make the case. Joey Bostrom says 2 weeks, no improvement, got to pull the plug. What do you say?
Listen, I for me, like, we know they're not going anywhere, right? I think it's better that the Giants just have the worst season. They win 2 games. They get pick number 1 or 2 because Carolina is going to be horrendous this year.
Yeah.
They may not even win a game.
Carolina and the Giants are going to be, probably 2 of the worst teams.
Right, 1 and 2. So at least they'll get the pick of the litter at quarterback, whoever they like more, whoever it might be. Because this year, let's be honest, they screwed up, right? Because thankfully for Hard Knocks, they showed us that the Giants were trying to move up to draft a quarterback, right?
Yeah,
One of the top 3 guys. Now, why they didn't draft J.J. McCarthy at 8 made no sense. That's the guy they should have drafted. If they drafted him, I know he's hurt. Okay, he hurt his knee. But he could have been playing behind Daniel Jones this year. He could have been the backup, learning, whatever. And that would have been it. And he would have been ready for next season. Now they're going to have this year. So this year becomes a dead year because you tried trading up for a quarterback. And then you said, oh, all right, well, let's draft a wide receiver.
But then you look
out
back a year and a half ago, you gave the contract extension to Jones. He wins the playoff game. But really, in the grand scheme of things, that maybe wasn't the right move.
It absolutely wasn't. What they should have done was give him the option year, let him play out the option, and that would have been that. And then he would have got hurt. And then you would have said,
if you look at the track record, other than the playoffs win and that season, he's been, not a very good quarterback. And,
The only good thing about that contract, though, is the fact that after this year, there's an easy out of that contract.
Right.
So they're not on the hook for a ton of money if they release Daniel Jones after this season. I mean, it might even still have to be like one of those post June 1st cuts next year.
Yeah.
But they could, designate to release him in the early in the off season and move on to the next quarterback. But you're right. I mean, you look at the top 3 guys that went: Williams, Daniels, and how was the third guy?
May. Drake May.
Drake May. You're right. Drake May. Thank you. But then 3 other quarterbacks went in the first round, right? McCarthy went 8 to Minnesota. No, I'm sorry.
Penix.
Penix went 8 to Atlanta. I think McCarthy was 9 or something to Minnesota. And then, Bo Nix went 12 or 13 to Denver. And
so they could have picked one of those 3
had
guys
by the New York Giants without a trade. If they were, but then again, were they not in love with those quarterbacks? I mean, yeah, it's a freak situation, but you look at McCarthy, it's a lost season for him because he's out for the year with the knee injury. Michael Penix is likely going to ride the bench the whole year because that was an odd situation. I can't freaking ever figure the Falcons out. I think they're going to be good. They lay an egg at home against
the Falcons. What have we said all these years on Sportswire over these last 3 or 4 years? NFL purgatory, and they're in NFL purgatory. Let me get to a couple more comments because I want to get to a few more things in the time we have left. Joe Dell likes the Sportswire logo over Chris's distorted background. It gives a 3D effect. Looks cool. We appreciate that, Joe Dell. And also, I like to share one more time a couple of new logos that we have on Sportswire before I move on to a couple of comments. And we appreciate everybody tuning in for the comments because I see football. Yep, that's the 1,000 subscribers. We appreciate that road. We're on that road. And also, how about our buddy, Mr. Ox McCoy of the IMF, who is a part of the Sinners, and he did this nice logo for us. He's such a fan of Sportswire that he went out of his way, and instead of putting people through tables and putting them through blood and barbed wire, wanted to create a nice little logo for us. So we appreciate Ox for that. So thank you, Ox, for your support over the years, and we'll take that off the screen. Jordan Love, you guys worried about that for Packers fans?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
how could you not be?
Yeah. I mean, they got to win a couple of games. Otherwise, they're going to put themselves in a big hole, in that division. And then they're going to have to fight for a wild card when Love eventually comes back. And he's going to be out at least, 3-4 weeks, right?
Yeah. I don't know. But the thing is, you get conflicting reports, right? They refused to put him on IR earlier in the week. And he's listed as questionable now for Sunday's game.
Is that a ploy to say, you know what, we'll maybe see if he could play, but realistically,
I don't think he's going to play against Indianapolis on Sunday. I think it's going to be Malik. I think it's going to be Malik Willis, and that's a problem. Your two options. Your two options at quarterback right now are Malik Willis and Sean Clifford. I mean, they're in trouble right now.
And Malik Willis literally just got there 2 or 3 weeks ago. So
let me get to a couple comments. Let me get to a couple comments.
The offense.
Well, I got a couple comments, so we move on here. Couple of good ones from TBK. What's with Tua? I saw a couple guys talking about that in the Sportswire group, but what is his season, his career look like?
You know what? It's going to come down to what the doctors tell him, and then what he talks about. What he talks about with his family. Mm-hmm. That's what it comes down to. Like it looked awful again for him, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to what his doctors tell him and what the team doctors tell him, and it's a sad story. He's a young kid, man. He's got a whole career.
Never been able to really stay healthy. Never been able to have consistency, and it's a Dolphins franchise that, has had the same problems. And they lay an egg yesterday, and Buffalo. I think he makes a good point as a follow up. I think a couple of people said, Buffalo. I think you talked about it on your show with Sharman that maybe Buffalo would take a step back, but 2-0 so far.
They look great. I thought they were taking a step back this year. I mean, it's still a long way to go, but I expected the Jets to win the division this year. I still do.
Jets have a pass. They got to win Sunday. Well, they're 1-1. People will forget about Mondays.
But right now, Buffalo looks great. So, but we'll see.
In reality, I still don't love Buffalo's roster. They played great yesterday, but going back to the situation with Tua, man. They gotta absolutely make sure he's 100% over this before he can step on the field again. And even then, it's a decision that I think is personally out of his hands. I think it's got to be in the hands of the medical team. It's got to be in the hands of the team, the independent neurologists, and then the team doctor, and then he's got to sit down and make that decision. 3 concussions in 2 years. One went misdiagnosed, and they let him back into that game, and then just less than a week later, he's in that game.
Yeah, we know that. Listen, concussions it ended Steve Young's career. We were talking earlier.
And the last 2 times were very ugly. Actually, they were all ugly scenes.
Wow.
First of all, he gets up. The first one, he gets up. He's stumbling off the field. You can tell he's clearly not right. The second time, you see his hands making these weird gestures because he's knocked unconscious. And then you see this hit. He was unconscious for a brief second.
Yeah, his hand did that thing again.
Yeah. It went up. It's called, what do they call it? You want to know something? This is serious life and death stuff because you could die from this stuff. Another hit, you could die. So we
talked about earlier in the
not
show.
Wearing the skull cap.
I saw a couple players wearing it.
Well, before we came on the air tonight, we were talking. And we had Bret Hart, who famously his career ended because of concussions, and a couple of them he didn't even know he had them. So we know in anything it's a major thing, and we'll see about Tua for sure. And we'll go into Ron Franklin. I want Jordan Love back against Minnesota. Well, we're gonna find out. I'll tell you that much. Before I move on to a few, I for a few final things I wanted to get finally out of my mouth, but. Couple of matchups of note interesting to you guys. I know there's a couple of games that a lot of people are paying attention to. I think New Orleans and Dallas is an interesting matchup that people are keeping an eye on. I think Buccaneers and Lions, a rematch from last year's playoffs. That's another interesting matchup. You got another one, Bengals Chiefs, obviously 4:25 game. That should be a Monday night or a Sunday night game at least. The Sunday night games are probably skip that, right? Bears and Texans. But you got some Monday nights, Falcons and Eagles. I don't know, but a couple of interesting games of note. I think Browns Jaguars will be interesting just because of what happens with the Brown situation. But what do you guys think? Any other interesting games of note, or am I missing something?
Yeah, I didn't even think Seattle New England might be a tough matchup too for Seattle being on the road. New England looked pretty good last week. Tampa Detroit's going to be good.
That's going to be very good.
Detroit's going to be probably, them and San Fran. That's the top 2 NFC teams this year. So
Sharman though said Seattle, don't sleep on them. Sharman likes Seattle. He said last week on the show.
They look good in week 1. Now the only concern with this is Kenneth Walker is listed as doubtful. He suffered an injury late in that game on Sunday, in week 1. But he was running all over the field. And he had a big game, but this week it's going to be on Geno Smith to make plays in the passing game against New England. I don't know how much they really want to run the ball is Zach Charbonnet. I know they trusted him a little bit last year when Walker missed a couple games, but DK Metcalf was quiet in week 1. Tyler Lockett was quiet in week 1. Jackson Smith and Jigba was pretty quiet. Smith didn't have a great game in the passing department, so he's going to have to be a little more consistent in this game against New England, and I don't think that's going to be easy. I think Gerard Mayo's got himself a pretty solid defensive unit, and you saw what they did to Joe Burrow and company. Now, they had some things to figure out in the run game because, you lose Joe Mixon, he goes to Houston. And that'll actually be a fun matchup. The Bears and Texans.
Why did Cincinnati get rid of Joe Mixon? That made no sense.
Salary dump.
I was going to say maybe it's got to be a captain.
Joe Mixon's a good.
At some point, you can't pay everybody, and they haven't really given out the new contracts yet. I mean,
we also got guys coming up. Maybe you got to go pay them. Let me get to one more comment before we move on to some other things to sign off the show. Harbaugh's comments about Dehen, he wasn't brought here to get 30 touches a game. My question, why waste the talent? Why not just keep Gus Edwards?
Well, the problem with Gus Edwards is, and TBK knows, that guy's hurt every year, right? And J.K. Dobbins. They
both tag team, and they both went to L.A. to play for the Chargers. They never stayed healthy. I mean, it was always ended up on RB3, RB4, and Justice Hill is still there, but Derrick Henry is going to have to be the workhorse. I mean, the carries are really going to be split between him and Lamar Jackson if you think about it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll certainly find out. Obviously, a lot of games, we do have a Sportswire Radio Picks League. I understand that there's a John Gonzalez one that a bunch of guys are in, and I do know that there's some Sportswire alumni, Anthony Finkel, the napkin guy's in it. I know Joey Bostrom's in it. Some guy that used to be on the show that shall name nameless is on the show. Those picks. Yes, he used to be here, and he's a coach somewhere, but obviously.
And I put it up in the, in the group page as well. Yeah. The what do you call it? The sports page that we're in. And I sent it to John personally. I was like, just join this so we could keep track of everything. But he didn't want to join.
They did their own. They have like 20-something people in the Sports Authorities group. But,
whatever.
But I know a bunch of guys. I think you guys are all in it. I saw Joey Bostrom's in it. Anthony Finkel's in it.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'll take solace in from the one that John Gonzalez has is the bonus tiebreaker is the total points for Monday Night Football.
That's a good one.
I put 51 for Jets Niners, and it ended up being 32-19.
Yeah, well, all right. So you were good on that, but I noticed a bunch of you guys were all in separated by 2 games or something. So that was pretty good. So yeah, I saw.
I was horrible, but within the spread though.
Well, it's early. Listen, we do have a group on Yahoo. I think when we get into NFL, we'll definitely, when baseball's over, I know New York baseball is going to be around for a while, at least the next few weeks for sure, with the Yankees going to the playoffs, and the Mets have a really good shot. Once we, get through that, we'll definitely spend the whole hour plus talking football. But for sure, we'll definitely talk about a few games of note. We'll gradually work our way into. But yes, we do have a Yahoo group with a bunch of the presenters on Sportswire Radio that are on it. I think it's like 7 or 8 of us. And then there's John Gonzalez's group. He's got about 26 people or something like that, 27 people. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. Obviously, a lot of the Sportswire guys are in that. So that's kind of our story in the NFL. We look forward to more comments. And this is a funny one here. I think 2 of you will get it. Is that individual the Richie Blackmore of Sportswire? I mean, he left and didn't tell anybody he was leaving the show. I mean, he basically just disappeared. And then he said, well, I'm going to come back. And then he didn't appear. I mean, which is fine. He went to go coach, and that's totally fine. But he was basically on the show as almost not an original presenter, but he was on for 3.5 years, with the exception of a 2-month break. So
and basically, John Gonzalez doesn't join us anymore.
Because honestly, a lot of these guys, they need the Facebook link. See, all these guys used to come in, Ron Laird, Anthony Finkel, John Gonzalez, a lot of the people that watched us on the sports shows on Facebook, they need the link right in front of them. You could drag the link in front. That's how people go. it's different in wrestling because wrestling is different. If you find it, they will come. But a lot of these casuals, and again, it was Carlos Otoro Chavez was another one that used to join us on the streams. Keith Engel, who's in the Sportswire group for the Sports Authorities, fantasy football, whatever you call it, the picks. I mean, he was in it. A lot of these guys, you got to give the link right in front of them. So all these guys, the Napkin, Finkel, Gonzalez, Engel, Laird. I mean, Bostrom's back. All right, Bostrom's good. He's back. But, Arturo Chavez, Ron Laird, no shade on them, but they need a link in front of them. That individual, his family, they would show up and watch us on Facebook. But, yeah, Facebook, we would get 30, 40 people watching us live, and we'd have the comments would be going through the evening. But, yeah, that's what it is. Guys need a link in front of them, that they need that, physical link. And that's why a lot of these people, they don't tune in. I mean, Gonzalez don't tune in, but it's also some guys look at it like sports. We do a lot of wrestling, and guys might not want to sit through SmackDown and Raw, and they want to wait. Give me the sports. That's what it also is. They were used to the Friday shows just being sports. There was no wrestling. So I use it on YouTube. The first out you saw TBK, Randy Dillon, Alan Michaels. We did wrestling, so there's a wrestling audience. So I think it could also be a lot of things. But I think realistically, before we move on, people need the link in front of them to click on it. They don't want an external link. And that's what casual guys, Finkel, again, I'm not knocking Finkel at all. If we love Finkel, I'm not knocking them personally. It's just people need a link in front of them. Finkel, Gonzalez, Engel, Arturo Chavez, Ron Laird, all those people that used to join us on the Facebook streams. That's what it is. They just used to get that link. Jacob Bard was one of those people. Jacob Bard, Steven Solanke. These were not even sports fans. But we were on Facebook. They would show up and click the link, and that's what it was. The British wrestlers, they were on Facebook. They clicked the link. I mean, that's just, Ernest, another one, on the link. So it is what it is, but Joey's here, and we appreciate that. Yes, everyone's good. Sportswire's on the road to 1,000 subs. Justin's got a new look, and we'll see if it helps him in the picks. We'll have to see. Joey Bostrom's got a new look. He's got some different things. He was out somewhere in a Staten Island bar, I think, doing some karaoke. So good stuff for him. Before I get to closing thoughts, anything else you guys want to throw out there before I close the show out and give you guys closing thoughts? Anything else you want to throw out there?
Well, the Brewers have closed out the Diamondbacks. That's a 2-1 final for Milwaukee.
Mets pick up a game. San
Diego's currently up in the. I think that 8th inning just ended.
4-0.
San Diego's leading 4-0 on San Francisco.
Well, San Francisco's done no favors for the Mets. Not a.
They're not any good.
Well, that's why they're again in purgatory. They're the Atlanta Falcons in Major League Baseball, 72 and 75. Every year? What are they? 80 and 82, 79, 83, 81 and 81, and yeah, they did no favors for it. But the good news is the Mets do pick up a game on them, and they're a game and a half behind Arizona. So maybe that'll be the Mets' other ticket into the postseason and get another wild card. Anything else for you, Rob? Anything else you want to share before we get to closing thoughts?
The page for New York Baseball Talk on Twitter is probably going to be done for Monday, by the way, Chris, just to let you know. And we already mentioned it. I just want to thank Joe Dell again one more time.
Yes, for Joe Dell music. Maybe next week I'll play the 20-second jingle of it. Maybe I'll play the jingle next week.
Hey, Tom, I told Rob, I said to tell Joe, I said maybe we could all get together. I said we owe him something. Maybe we'll take him out for dinner or something one night, and we'll all get together. We'll be
absolutely
group dinner.
We'll talk.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, absolutely.
Yeah, Staten Island. I know. I'll come in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sure. Well, just let us know. I mean, that would be good. I mean, Fink will probably join us for that one.
That'd be great.
Fink would join for that one.
I want to see the famous napkin.
He would. He actually he comes to Staten Island with his new wife, so he doesn't live too far from us. He's about 30 minutes from my house, Finkel. 30 minutes, if that. He lives in Ditmas Park. He's literally 30 minutes by car, if that. He's on.
I grew up right near where he lives.
He lives right by the Q train. He's right by Newkirk Plaza. Literally, he's like 2 blocks from Newkirk Plaza. So all he does is he jumps on Ocean Parkway and takes Ocean Parkway down to the Belt Parkway and comes here. He takes the Verrazano Bridge.
But don't go far. Don't go past 35 miles an hour in the city.
Yeah. Well, he's
got
always
an
on
island.
Instagram
I
with
got a
his
ticket a couple of
business.
weeks ago. Thank you very
Well,
much.
yeah, don't do that. Yeah, DPH.
38
Yes,
miles an hour. I got a ticket. I was like,
we definitely
yeah.
got to do that. Yes, definitely an evening would be good. You pick the day, you pick the date and time, and I'll do it. You won't do it too late, so it'll be good. So yeah, we'll definitely pick an afternoon or something or an evening.
Sounds
Good to me. Yes, it was a good one. We had a great crowd today. A lot of people on YouTube were here with us. Nice response. Yes, I think I was telling the guys off there, just people know Sportswire. They'll just tune in for anything at this point. We had some good sports talk too. So you're going to get that next Friday. We're going to do football, baseball. Good time to be a New York fan. Good time to be a baseball sports fan. A lot of wrestling, a lot of sports. People, they got a good change up. Nice balance. A nice balanced show. Last week's show was the most viewed non-backyard underground show we've done in a while for one of these. One of the most viewed ones on my YouTube channel. I had like 130 views, something like that. Last week's show was one of the most viewed ones in a while since the TSF takes. Well, I think people just know. I mean, listen, I did a show yesterday. It was like, people just didn't tune in. They were just like, I don't know. It was just, the show was great. We had like two wrestlers fighting in their cars. They were going to jump each other in the car. You would have thought people would have been in it, but the guys were just, unfortunately, it was a late one, but that's okay. But I think it's time to give everybody closing thoughts. I'm going to go with you, Justin, first. I'm going to pass the baton to you. Want to give you some closing thoughts. Welcome back, my friend. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say, I will give that to you and fire away.
Thanks, Tom. It is good to be back. I was here a couple weeks ago. Don't forget that. I was here, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
I don't know. I think more than that. More like 5 weeks ago. About 5-6 weeks ago, you had one appearance.
Maybe I've lost track of time, but I know
Yeah.
I know last week I missed the start of the football season. But anyways, good to be back. Pumped up obviously with what's going on with the Mets, and kind of gives a little like distraction for the start of the football season, because like just paying attention to the pennant race, and that's not something I'm used to.
Yeah, I was. You know what? I got to be honest.
You
You would have told me we're talking really 2/3 baseball tonight. I would have said probably not, but you got to talk about it. Both teams are in pennant races. So
Yeah,
right
I mean,
now, I don't think
Yankees
we're talking football. Next week, it's going to be the same thing. And probably talk Met Phillies is next week. I'm not.
Mets Phillies another big series next weekend, and
Absolutely.
3 of the 4 games next week are going to be nationally televised. The
I
Thursday
saw that
game
Fox,
will be
Apple, and
exclusively
ESPN, right?
Fox. Apple TV's got the Friday night game, and then you got the local games on Saturday.
Is that the last Apple game of the season?
It might be. There's only a couple Fridays left, right? That season
Probably,
ends on the 29th. So I would imagine. I mean, they might have one on the 27th. Who knows? But the Sunday game was picked up by Sunday Night Baseball.
Yeah,
which makes sense. It's going to be the biggest series.
Oh, for sure.
It's going to be
Even
the biggest
this
series.
week,
Of the
I mean,
weekend.
this is the Mets Phillies. I mean, there's some good series this week, but I mean, this has got to be the biggest one. I mean, Orioles
this
Tigers
weekend?
is the big one.
I mean, this weekend, yeah, probably. But you got Brewers, Diamondbacks. That's big.
Orioles Tigers is now under the radar, big series now. A lot to play.
Dodgers
both those teams.
and Braves.
Dodgers Braves is a very good one for sure.
And that's one thing I want to mention. We briefly touched on the Dodgers. I mean, what the hell has happened to their pitching staff? I mean, the number of injuries is just out of control. Glasnow just had a setback. You're probably not going to see him again. You just got Yamamoto off the injured list. Kershaw is hurt. Buehler has been on and off the IL, right? Bobby Miller, probably their only guy that stayed healthy, but he's been up and down the minor leagues because he's been awful. I mean, their pitching has been bad. The kid today, Knack, got knocked around by the Braves early on, and he got knocked out of the game in the 3rd inning. But, I mean, the guys that they're missing Dustin May. They're missing Emmett Sheehan. They're missing Ryan Pepio. They're still missing Tony Gonsolin from last year. I mean, the number of talented pitchers the Dodgers have in their organization, but they're all hurt. It's probably what's going to be their downfall yet again.
Another exit if that's the way it goes.
Probably.
Another exit.
I don't know how they piece together a postseason rotation, especially if Glasnow is not healthy.
It's a good point.
He's that rotation.
It's a very good point. I mean, that's a really good point. I mean, we'll see. This is a team that's already struggled to begin with in postseason success. So we definitely want to see, where we go with that for sure. And we thank you, Justin, and we're looking forward to next week's show. Very excited about next week's show and a lot to talk about in between that as well. I'm going to go with you, Chris, next. I'm going to give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share? So I'm looking forward to the Liftoff Jets. Like I said, I got a chance to listen to the show with Sharman a couple times. Excited about that. Really excited about the New York baseball talk. You guys have hit a nice little niche there. Really enjoy the shows there. Good balance to what we have on Sportswire. Hockey talk is back. Randy was back on his show. Neil Villapiano is back tomorrow. And as you said, Chris, in the opening, I appreciate the opener. You said, we do wrestling, but we do sports also on Sportswire Radio. So we have nice little balance. And we have a lot of new shows this weekend. I'm going to have to remember to play them. I got the Sit Down Marks is new. I got you guys with Liftoff Jets. I got, Neil Villapiano, Randy Dillon. So a lot of good shows, and I'm excited about all of them. And I hope everybody else joins me in doing that. So I'm going to pass the baton to you. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say? Be my guest.
Tom, thank you, guys. Great show, as always. I'm just looking forward to the last couple of weeks of the season for baseball. It just seems like every week we're talking about a different team stepping up and being in the mix. Like this week, we're talking about the Tigers. Last week, we weren't even mentioning the Tigers. Now we're like, oh, they have a really good shot to get in, So let's see what happens next week. We'll see another new team step up and get involved. So looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Monday talking with Rob, catching up about baseball. We'll catch up about the weekend's actions, and we'll preview what's going on this coming week, which is going to be an incredible week, especially for the Mets and Phillies again, playing 4 games at Citi Field. Going to be really good. Yankees, of course, if they could, I would love to see them take at least 3 out of 4 against the Red Sox this weekend. Would be nice. And just, keep rolling into the playoffs.
By the way, Mets swept him in Citi Field, and Yankees got the first 2 here already. So, the Yankees definitely could have a shot at that.
Yeah, I would love it. A sweep would be awesome. That would be really good. Because last year they definitely took it to us. So love to get them back, a little bit. So anyway, looking forward to it Monday. And then Tuesday or Wednesday it would be with Sharman. Liftoff Jets will be recapping week 2 and previewing. I'm
looking forward to that. I was really enjoyed this Monday's show. I actually listened to it. I listened to it on Wednesday, I was really pumped up for the show. So I'm really looking forward to this one. So
yeah, he was actually. We were texting back and forth because he had picked Buffalo for the Thursday night game, and I was like, yeah, I think Miami's going to beat them, but
I thought Miami too. I was like Miami. Yeah, I don't know.
I had Miami as well.
Well, a lot of us did, but
Miami's a fraud. They don't win games.
Yeah, they were talking about that during the telecast, and now Michael said something stupid as well. But obviously,
yeah, exactly. It's
talk about Alzheimer's disease, dementia. But
he either says something stupid or talks about the betting line because he's got money on the game.
Well, I can't get into some of those things, but I definitely am looking forward to maybe I think me, you, with Joe Dell, and maybe an Anthony Finkel type getting together for a Sportswire meal, and I'll definitely make sure I cover that. Yeah, we'll definitely get some of the guys. I definitely want to do that. So thank you, Chris, for that. Very excited about that. We'll talk about a date for sure. And also, before I get to you, Rob, Joey Bostrom says, well, we'd love to have you back, Joey. Definitely playoffs are in a couple weeks, so definitely we're going to be here. I'm not here the 27th, but I'm going to be here the following Friday. So definitely a lot to talk about there. So we're going to be here next week. So I hope you remember to tune in. And definitely afterwards, we're all here every Friday. So football talk is going to be definitely dominating the topic. So definitely want you here. And don't worry, Joe, I'm going to get to 1,000 subs. I got 3 subscribers in the last 24 hours. I will get them. I'm on TikTok. I'm on a lot of platforms. There's a lot of people really in the backyard in the underground wrestling community who will get me to 1,000. So thank you, Joey. Just tune in and be well, Joey. Just be well, Joey, and keep being Joey Bostrom. But Rob, I want to pass the baton to you. You get the final word for this show. I want to give you the floor one more time. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say, and I'll put your X up and fire away, my friend.
Thanks, Tom. Great show, guys. A lot of fun. This is the best time of the year right now, especially when both New York teams are in it. We're having a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to talking to Chris on Monday. New York baseball talk so far. We're getting a lot of good feedback on that show. People are enjoying that show, and It is a lot of fun. I'm going to have some contests coming up that I'm going to announce next week. And definitely you'll get to 1,000 subscribers because I'm going to start doing a push too. And, we just.
No, I'm going to get to 1,000. There's a lot. Trust me,
Yeah.
I'm at 900 plus.
You
Trust me.
definitely will.
Yes, so there's people that are praying. People actually praying for me. I'm getting it. I'm like, oh, it's okay. Pray for like world peace. Pray for like prosperity. Pray for like people to have wars ending. Don't pray for me to get to 1,000 subscribers. I'll get there. But thank you for the kind words to the people out there. Yes, there are people that are actually. It's funny though. Before we get off the air, I had somebody message me today on Instagram. Congratulations. I said, congratulations for what? You got to 900 subscribers. But I'm like, I didn't get to 1,000. I didn't win yet. And they were like, we got 900 though. I've got people congratulating me. I'm like, but I didn't get to 1,000 yet. They were congratulating me. Yes, 900 is a big number, but I didn't get to 1,000. But that's okay. That's okay. You can congratulate me later. But I tell you what, I really loved tonight's show. What a great show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. What a great balance. This is what Sportswire Radio is about. It's all wrestling matters, all sports matters. And we had wrestling talk with the likes of Randy Dillon, Alan Michaels, TBK. We also had some baseball, football talk from the Grim Reaper himself, Rob Maraska, Chris Pizzaia. I got his name right now finally a couple of weeks in a row. Justin Gianelli, the returning Justin Gianelli, had a great crowd, great variety. That's what you get here also on our internet radio station where we play all sports. We play all different things in the wrestling world. Check us out anytime. And I had people ask me about the radio station earlier in the week, and that's the link. Check us out anytime. And I'm looking forward to next Friday. We're back on the air, 10 o'clock Eastern time. And I'll be here a couple of times coming up later this weekend. We'll be here with Sean Jovi, America's resident rock star, Aaron Blaze, the headline, and Steven Storm. But until then, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Have a lot of people here. Thank you, Joe Dell. Thank you, Joseph Bostrom, TBK, if you're out there still, and also Ron Franklin. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters and all sports matters. And until then, everybody, enjoy your weekend. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, on the number one global radio station where all sports matters and